Okay, we're ready. How's it going today, everybody?
Yeah.
Oh, you okay over there, Ben?
Man.
Oh, Lord. All right, your Ben Joravsky show for Wednesday, October 2nd is just moments away. But before we get into this, we need to thank the following unions for sponsoring our program. First up, the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace, not Aerosmith Smith Workers, Local 126 and District 8. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9. The International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. And our good friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor.
That's correct.
The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. Today on the program, legendary Chicago journalist Monroe Anderson returns. Actor, comedian, political know-it-all, social media guru, and good friend of the Ben Joravsky Show, Pat Whalen, is back. And it's the Ben Joravsky Show debut of Senator Robert Peters. Now your host, Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Yeah, hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this a Tale of Two Cities Wednesday. And here's why. We had a great show at the Hideout last night, first Tuesday at the Hideout. Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor, Pride and Joy of the 20th Ward, was there. Alderman Matt Martin, Pride and Joy of the 47th Ward, was there as well. Mick Dumke did a great job. Fantastic conversation. A word or two about Jeanette Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. She is a tell it like it is powerhouse who pulls no punches, lets you know exactly what she thinks on any issue of the day. Man, we could use more people like her. She's not afraid of speaking her mind. She's not afraid of coming out of the shadows. She's not hiding under the desk like so many other people. Hey, come on under the desk. By the way, speaking of other people who are not afraid to tell it like it is and don't hide under the desk, I'm going to shout out to Senator Bernie Sanders. As everybody knows, he had some operation today. I think it was this morning, and I hear he's doing well, or I hope he's doing well. We got some message we're going to get into later from the Bernie Sanders campaign, typical Bernie Sanders campaign message. They're talking about Medicare for all when they talk about Bernie. So our best wishes to the great Bernie Sanders. He has led the way for the Democratic Party to move left, not be afraid, not cower under the table, hide in the corners, centrist Democratic stuff. I'm afraid of swing voters. Bernie tells it like it is, and I hope he gets better really soon. All right, but back to the Hideout last night. The conversation got to the pending teacher strike. And the one thing I really liked about Jeanette Taylor, the alderwoman of the 20th Ward, is she pulled no punches. She said she was pro-teacher. You don't hear a lot of that in the city. You hear more of it now than you did, let's say, 2012. In 2012, many of our older people were so afraid of Rahm. They were so afraid of defying Rahm. I'm scared. Oh, God, I don't know.
Which alderman's that? Which impression?
Many of them.
Oh, no one in particular.
No, just a bunch of them. You know, a couple of aldermen I'm thinking of in particular. But they're not even in office anymore, so I'll leave them alone, D. Anyway, Jeanette Taylor pointed out something very important. She tried to put everything in perspective. She talked about schools on the South Side. Many of them classrooms are overcrowded. Many of them are so broke they can't afford art, or music, or drama. Many of them don't have the basic supplies that you need to have in a classroom, paper, pencils, etc. And many of the teachers have to dig into their own pockets to buy those supplies. And then in the issues like counselors, nurses, social workers, nope, no librarians. Many schools don't have libraries. They got libraries left over from the days when Chicago actually could afford to have a librarian, but they don't have librarians. How about that? Just you got a room filled with books, but no librarians. So most of the time they're locked, or the kids do test prep, or if, God forbid, they need a setting for a press conference or something. They'll drag everybody. We want books in the background, but no librarians. Real shame. A civilized city like Chicago should not have to put up with that. On the north side, a little different thing. North side, wealthier part of town. Generally, the parents have the money, the discretionary income to dip into their pocketbook and pay for things that the school needs. So maybe there's some schools in the north side where they pay for a science teacher by dipping. You want tutoring? Dip in your pocketbooks. You want after-school program and drama or art, etc.? Dip in your pocketbooks. You want to do a rehab of the school. You want to make it prettier. You want to buy supplies. Again, dip in your pocketbooks. I mean, people got the money. They could just dip into the pocketbooks, okay? That's how it is on the north side of town. More money in there. No, all power to them. Not hating on the north side, just saying they have a different attitude. And how is that attitude reflected in this struggle between the teachers and Mayor Lori Lightfoot? Well, on the south side of Chicago, Jeanette Taylor's like, I'm 100% for the teachers because they're standing up for things that our classrooms need. On the north side of town, where I deal with a lot of people on the north side of town, little different attitude. Generally, they are along the variety of, Ben, I'm scared. Ben, I'm worried. Ben, those teachers, why can't they just get along? Why do they got to be so abrasive? Why can't they just agree to what Lori says? Take the money. I hear that from, they really want to strike. That's another thing I hear from Northsiders. Why can't they just put aside the strike thing? You know, that's because it's a different reality in the north side of town. North side of town's got more money. So they're playing in a different ballpark. The issues that the teachers are championing, perhaps they don't ring true to Northsiders or well-to-do Chicagoans in general. So I hear oh my God, get Northsiders talking about Stacey Davis Gates, D. She's so mean. I don't like her, okay? Why can't you be more like Karen Lewis? I always say that. I just wrote about this. The same people who are saying, why can't Stacey Davis Gates be more like Karen Lewis, were bashing Karen Lewis in 2012. Isn't that funny, D? Now that Karen Lewis is not here, why can't Stacey Davis Gates be more like Karen Lewis? By the way, Stacey Davis Gates will be in the studio on Friday, D. How about that, huh?
All right.
SDG. He's sitting right there telling me how I got everything wrong. They're always coming. You ever notice that, D? They come in here, the guests come in here and tell me how I got things wrong.
Yeah. I think it's the charm of our show.
Yeah, it's Ben, you could have gotten this right. Anyway, I addressed many of these issues in a column in The Reader. We'll probably post it, talk about it later today. But it's just a very interesting little tale of two cities. The South Side's attitude toward the pending teacher strike and the North Side's. By the way, I want to give a shout out to Matt Martin. He is an alderman on the North Side, but he does not have that wimpy North Side attitude. He too stands with the teachers, so I appreciate him. But many North Siders, they're sort of like, I don't know. Can't we all get along? Northsiders, let me tell you something. If they treated your kids like they treat the kids on the South Side, you'd be on the front lines with the teachers, just like Alderwoman Taylor. We got a great show today, everybody. Yes, yes, indeed. Monroe Anderson doesn't pull any punches.
Oh, no.
He'll be in here, and guess what he'll be talking about? Trump.
Okay.
Trump and Trump.
Oh.
All right. Okay. And he may bring a mystery guest. Whoa. Who could that mystery guest be? Pat Whalen, comedian, actor, media guru will be here. We'll be breaking down Trump's Twitter feed. Oh, it was always fun to do that with the great Pat Whalen. And State Senator Robert Peters, the pride and joy of Hyde Park, will be here. Big Bernie guy, one of Bernie's leading supporters in the state of Illinois. And he'll be talking, give us an update on Bernie's condition and talk about what to expect in the veto session, which is coming up about a couple weeks or so, man. Time is just flying by. Some state news with him. And then get a little teacher talk with him. Get his thoughts. He's a South Sider. Get his thoughts on the pending teacher strike. So State Senator Robert Peters will be in the studio as well. Great show today. But no show begins without the news from the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, the man they call the Doctor.
Hey, guys, how's it going? Hey, did you say Monroe Anderson has a mystery guest coming in?
Yeah, he does. He has a mystery guest.
Ooh, who could it be?
I don't know, but
I hope they find parking.
Oh, my God, the poor mystery guest. Parking is crazy around here. Although some people have been known to park a mile and a half away from the studio. Yeah, you. Get ready to walk,
oh my
big
God.
boy. You ready to walk?
A little behind the scenes, breaking the fourth wall here in the Ben Joravsky show today. When Ben drives, good Lord, this guy parks far.
Yeah, I like to get a little exercise.
A little.
Yeah.
Man, we walk really far. Can't wait for that mystery guest that Monroe Anderson brings today. It's going to be fantastic. Are you okay? You You okay? All right, here we go. We begin with the Illinois governor. J.B. Pritzker's Wednesday schedule includes a visit to the Hilton Chicago Oaklawn Hotel. Well, he really likes hotels.
Wait, time out. It's the Hilton Chicago in Oak Lawn?
Hilton Chicago Oaklawn Hotel.
Wow, so they call the Hilton in Oak Lawn the Chicago.
Yeah.
Whoa, that is so trippy. Have you ever
you
been
had
there?
heard- what?
Have you
No.
ever been to Oak Lawn?
No.
You always do that to me. Have you ever been to Potahaki?
Yeah, you're the host of the show. People want to know.
I've been to Oak Lawn, okay?
All right. How about this hotel? You ever been there?
No, I didn't know they had a Hilton in Oak Lawn, and I certainly don't understand why they call the Oak Lawn Hilton the Chicago.
Boy, we've just gotten into one sentence of the news.
Dude, do a little digging. Get back to me with the memo. Have it on my desk tomorrow.
J.B. Pritzker's Wednesday schedule includes a visit to the Hilton Chicago Oaklawn Hotel and Conference Center to speak at Southland Convention and Visitors Bureau annual meeting. So that's really what's going on with Pritzker today. In statewide news, in case you didn't know, last week the FBI raided another Illinois politician's office. Oh, Illinois.
Oh, Illinois, man.
We have a follow-up as to why the offices of Illinois Senator Martin Sandoval were raided. According to documents released Tuesday by the Illinois Senate, federal agents who raided the state capitol office of Senator Martin Sandoval last week were looking for information related to concrete and construction businesses, lobbyists, and political officials, and, quote, items related to any official action taken in exchange for a benefit. So there's that Sandoval update. Ben, why is this Martin Sandoval story starting to sound like an episode of The Sopranos?
I know, concrete.
And what are your thoughts on all this?
First of all, by the way, you mentioned The Sopranos. Have you ever seen the episode of Saturday Night Live where Tony Soprano comes on and does the news?
James Gandolfini.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. I sit corrected. The actual actor was on. It was not literally. There is no literal Tony Soprano, although he came as Tony Soprano, so he didn't come as. But anyway, have you ever seen that one?
No.
Oh, it's hilarious. He's back and forth with Tina Fey. But anyway, I digress. Listen, obviously, Marty Sandoval. Here, the issue for me is who blew the whistle on Marty Sandoval. That's one part issue. It's always curious to know who they're squeezing, who they're really going after. You understand what I'm saying? I can't believe this is all about Marty Sandoval. It's got to be bigger fish in the lake or lagoon or whatever. So I don't know who their ultimate target is. I hope it's not just Marty Sandoval, but if it is, it is. And I just find this really curious, D. Why doesn't Marty Sandoval and let's say Ed Burke and Danny Solis and all the other Chicago politicians, imagine if they fought back the way Donald Trump is fighting back? I mean, we're going to be talking about this with Pat Whalen, some of Donald Trump's tweets, his just strong denunciation of all the feds who are investigating him, the congressional subpoenas. He's just like basically giving the middle finger to him. Wouldn't that be interesting if Marty Sandoval fought back like that?
Just flip the bird.
Flipped up.
Oh, I did it on
You
camera.
did?
Sorry.
Redo. Redo.
For all of our downloaders, I just put my middle finger up. Almost did it again.
People are, you did kind of do it again. I just noticed it's like a reflex. By the way, do not swear on the Ben Joravsky Show. Many of our guests have been known to swear, but Dennis will not allow me to swear. Right, Dr. D?
No, sir.
No swearing. Anyway, so I'm really curious. Why don't Illinois politicians, Illinois Democrats are constantly being investigated for wrongdoing, as well they should, by the feds. The feds are always investigating, but why don't they start reacting the way Donald Trump? Could you imagine that? Could you imagine what the Tribune would do if Illinois Democrats started treating federal investigations with as much scorn and derision as Donald Trump and much contempt? Oh my God, the Tribune would be outraged. But when it comes to Donald Trump, they're like, that was wrong, but I don't see any evidence of anything that's impeachable. So, of course, it's hard to see evidence when our eyes are closed. Anyway, I went on a tangent about the Tribune. So what I'm saying, D, as much as I have championed investigations into wrongdoing, much as I've written about conflicts of interest in Illinois Democratic politics, as much as I railed against the heavy-handed budget tactics of Chicago mayors, in this day and age, I'm having a hard time working up anger over it when I see Donald Trump giving 2 middle fingers. Don't give the middle finger now to federal investigators or congressional investigators who come after him. I guess things are only illegal if Democrats do them. Is that it, D? Anyway, that's my take. You asked for it, you got it.
All right, enough of the state news. Besides, The Sopranos is so early 2000s, and we have one hell of an episode of our favorite 2019 Chicago City Hall political soap opera to discuss. That's right, people.
Wait, time out. Wasn't The Sopranos in the 90s originally?
I
believe there was an episode where they talked about the change of the century. I believe there was one, D. Huh? Do a little dig and get back to me.
I got nothing going on. Oh, our guest is here. Let me go run outside and grab our guest. Oh, we got a live stream.
Hold on. Meanwhile, do a little digging on The Sopranos, Kate.
All right, enough of the state news. Besides, The Sopranos is so late 90s, early 2000s.
Very well done.
And we have one hell of an episode of our favorite 2019 Chicago City Hall political soap opera to discuss. That's right. Get the popcorn out and call your local committeeman. It's time for a mayor and her alderman. A mayor and her alderman.
It's one of my favorite shows.
Yours too? Mm-hmm. All right, where to begin? Where to begin? Oh, I know where. 10th Ward Alderwoman Sue Garza.
Big fan of Sue Garza.
We have a follow-up on what we've been calling Garzagate. The time Sue Garza introduced 2020 presidential candidate Bernie Sanders at a Chicago Teachers Union rally, and said, "That's right, MRFer," and showed her support for the CTU's potential strike. Damn, Sue Garza is cool.
She dropped a few F-bombs, huh, D?
Now, because our mayor is currently in negotiations with the teachers union to prevent a strike, and because, well, City Hall's kind of like high school, a lot of the political know-it-alls were almost certain that our Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot would have some kind of a punishment in store for the 10th Ward Alderwoman Sue Garza. At least a stern talking to, you know? Well, the mayor has spoken on Garzagate, and Ben, that is not the case. Yes, no after-school detention for Sue Garza, Ben. She escaped it this time. Here's the quote from Lightfoot, quote, "Sue Garza and I have a really good relationship. We talk frequently. We're very candid with each other, and obviously she has a connection to CTU that's very strong. I understand that," the mayor said of Garza, a former school counselor and area vice president, South for CTU. The quote continues, "What I found with Chairman Garza is that she's a very reasonable person. She has sought and received from us detailed briefings about what's happening or not in the negotiations, and she takes that information into due consideration."
Oh my goodness, I have so many thoughts on this story. Let's start. Let's just go back a little bit. We talked about this last week, but one more time. People should know what's going on here. Alderwoman Sue Garza from the 10th Ward, far southeast side of Chicago, been on the show many times. Was a school counselor for many years. She was a counselor at the very grammar school on the southeast side that she attended. How about that, D? And she was a Chicago Teachers Union activist. In many ways, her career as a politician, as an elected official, was launched by the 2012 strike, the teacher strike, where she was one of the leaders on the south side. I recall that Karen Lewis, the great Karen Lewis, came to Sue Garza's house for a rally on the southeast side. So Sue Garza was on the front lines for the teachers in 2012, and she very much owes her election as alderwoman of the 10th Ward to the support that she got from the teachers union in 2015. No doubt about it. Now, Lori Lightfoot is a corporate citizen of Chicago by and large. She was a corporate lawyer. So she was nowhere on the front lines when Sue Garza got elected. Just putting that out there, okay? When Sue Garza got elected, and it was a handful of votes, D, very close election. They were counting late into the night on the runoff against the incumbent named John Pope. We'll probably get into him in a little bit. But when Sue Garza was elected, I just want to point this out. Lori Lightfoot was nowhere to be found, all right? Where was Lori Lightfoot, D? Oh, there she is.
Oh, no.
No, she probably wasn't paying attention. She was very much part of the ROM team. She probably wasn't paying attention to a aldermanic race. Was she under the table, D? Nah, not Lori Lightfoot. But she wasn't paying it. Let's just give her that. She wasn't paying attention. All-important race in the 10th Ward, and Sue Garza was a tremendous victory. So Sue Garza's heart will always be, in my humble opinion, with the Chicago Teachers Union. All right? Now, So last week I think it was, and Bernie was in town. Was it Tuesday? I think it was last Tuesday. Bernie came to town, Bernie Sanders, and there was a rally at Chicago Teachers Union headquarters, and I think Sue Garza was the person who got to introduce Bernie. And she was all fired up, dropped a few F-bombs, said we're ready to strike, we're on the front lines. People, union workers have a constitutional right to withhold their services when they are in a contract dispute with their employers. And she's absolutely correct. And by the way, Sue Garza's father was a great union leader in the Southeast side. Now here's the problem. Sue Garza is the chairwoman of a city council committee. And in Chicago, we have this crazy system where the mayors get to select who the chairs are of city council committees. Now, I know what you're thinking, people. You're thinking, wait a minute. In high school, they taught us that there was a split and that there was a legislative branch and there was an executive branch. And the executive branch didn't tell the legislative branch what to do. Well, obviously, that's not how they play the game in Chicago, folks. By the way, they're not playing that game in Washington these days either. Donald Trump is trying to order the Congress what to do in the impeachment hearings. Thank goodness the Democrats are taking over the Congress. Could you imagine if it was the Republicans in charge? It would be, yes, boss. Well, they got that yes, boss mentality in the city of Chicago to a certain degree. And so Lori Lightfoot gets to name select the chairs of these legislative committees. My good pal, Mick Dumke from ProPublica. This is one of his favorite themes. He loves to talk about this. How insane this is that the legislative branch in the city of Chicago allows the executive branch to determine who runs the city council. And I do think it's insane. And I do think it's not productive. And I do think that this is more important issue than aldermanic prerogative, because the big issue in the city of Chicago is mayoral prerogative. Anyway, didn't mean to go on that tangent about aldermanic prerogative. So then the issue was, well, if Sue Garza spoke out and showed her true love for the Chicago Teachers Union and championed the rights of workers to go on strike in a contentious labor dispute, would she be punished by Mayor Lori Lightfoot? And the headline in the Chicago Sun-Times says it all, D. Lightfoot won't punish aldermen for profanity at CTU rally. Well, I object to the premise here. Why should the mayor have the right to punish an alderman? There's supposed to be a split. There's supposed to be check and balance. So I appreciate the fact that Lori Lightfoot did not, quote unquote, punish Sue Garza like Sue Garza is an employee of Lori Lightfoot. But I just want to point out that Sue Garza is an alderwoman. She's not an employee of Lori Lightfoot, and Sue Garza was elected independently of Lori Lightfoot. So Sue Garza should not have to look for Lori Lightfoot's favors to hold her position as chair of the all-important committee. And by the way, she earned that chairmanship. She's been a leader in labor rights her whole career. Like I said, her father was a great labor organizer for the Steelworkers Union. So I just, the underlying premise that the mayor can punish an alderman by stripping that alderman of her title as a chair of a committee because the alderwoman dares to stand with the teachers in a dispute with the mayor over a contract, I don't think that's good or healthy for democracy. So that is how I view that one, D.
So for the time being, all is well between Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Alderwoman Sue Garza. But is that the case between her and newly elected 45th Ward Alderman Jim Gardner? No.
Jim Gardner. I like
not
that.
At all, in
I
fact.
like that.
You like Jim Gardner?
No, I like the fact you called him Jim and not James.
Oh, yeah. Why is that?
Because his name is Jim. I think he goes by Jim.
Oh, okay. Not the case with Jim Gardner. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and the one and only Fran the Woman Spielman. Mayor Lori Lightfoot on Tuesday defiantly defended her decision to reward former 5th Ward Alderman John Arena with a $129,996 a year job in the Department of Planning and Development over strenuous objections from the guy who beat him in the election, rookie Alderman Jim Gardner. Hey, wait, hold on. That guy can't, move on with life? How dare he? Gardner stepped up and voiced his concern about this to Mayor Lightfoot, and, well, you can't say she ducked and dodged the issue. Here's the quote from Lightfoot, quote, With due respect to the freshmen, I make my decisions based upon the merits. I'm not going to have somebody who defeated somebody in an election dictate to me how or when or under what circumstances somebody gets hired, said Lightfoot. Let's see here. Gardner vented in a meeting, the mayor said, but I obviously decided to go in a different direction. If we start a precedent of somebody who's a winner basically banning somebody from employment, where does it end? What Gardner should focus on is what matters to his ward. He doesn't have a say over my hiring decisions. Lightfoot was asked how her decision to hire Arena differs from former Mayor Rahm Emanuel's decision to give high-level city jobs to defeated former Alderman Mary O'Connor, 41st Ward, and John Pope, 10th Ward. Lightfoot said, quote, I don't spend my time comparing myself to other mayors. I'm calling balls and strikes based upon the information that I have in front of me and what our specific needs are. I think John Arena is a smart, able person who brings a wealth of experience that will, I think, aid us in the new commissioner of planning, or otherwise he wouldn't be there.
Okay. Lori Lightfoot. Well, a lot of guests coming in right now.
Absolutely.
But here's my thoughts on that. I told you she was going to bring up, John Pope's name was going to come up in this conversation. John Pope, as I said earlier, it was the former alderman of the 10th Ward. He was narrowly defeated by Sue Garza in 2015, and after that, he got a job from Rahm Emanuel in the water department. And I viewed that at the time, and Sue Garza viewed that at the time, as Rahm's attempt to prop up Pope in the hopes that Pope would run against Sue Garza in a subsequent election. It didn't happen that way. John Pope decided, for whatever reason, he didn't want to run for office again. Loved that water department job, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get you that water department job. You'd be so good at it.
By the way,
what kind of water are you drinking right now?
I'm drinking the Bernie Kool-Aid right here.
Oh, okay. Not water at all.
Yeah. It's Bernie flavored water at the Sun Times. Over. Oh, okay, sorry. But anyway, so yes, this is a common practice that mayors get to hire who they want. And generally, they hire their old allies. And John Arena was an ally to Lori Lightfoot. So, yeah, she has the right to hire him, just like Rahm Emanuel had the right to hire John Pope. And old boy in the Gardner in the 45th Ward.
Oh, yes, old boy.
Has the right to criticize Lori Lightfoot if he chooses, just the way Sue Garza had the right to choose Mayor Rahm when he hired John Pope. This is politics in the city of Chicago. So I applaud. By the way, pretty good counterpunch from Lori Lightfoot calling Jim Gardner the freshman. Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. She too is a freshman. I like to point that out. But suddenly she's like, she's the wise old mayor. The freshman, huh? The little rookie's going to speak out about me. Conveniently forgetting that she too is a freshman. Did you know that she's a freshman as well? Remember, my freshman year of high school was many, many years ago. But so she has the right to defend her hiring of John Arena. She has the right to hire John Arena. But I will say this: as much as she has the right to hire John Arena and defend herself from Jim Gardner's criticism, really shouldn't have the right to decide who the chair people are of the committees, and therefore have the right to, quote unquote, punish Sue Garza for standing with the teachers in this contract dispute. Just saying that again one more time, Dee.
Oh, the daily goings on of City Hall. What will happen next time? Well, I guess we'll have to wait for our next episode of A Mayor and Her Alderman. To be continued. So there you are. The latest of what's going on in Chicago and or Illinois. People, don't go anywhere, because coming up after this short little break, we're going to talk with Chicago legend Monroe Anderson and his mystery guest. Who will it be? You're going to have to stick around and find out. It's the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Tonight, members of the Chicago Teachers Union voted overwhelmingly to authorize a strike, with 94% of our members voting yes. This is a clear signal from the members of the Chicago Teachers Union at 520 public schools across the city that we need the mayor and the Board of Education to address critical needs in our schools.
Attention Chicago innovators and creators, 2019 Chicago Ideas Week is coming soon. October 12th through the 17th, this annual Ideas Festival is back, and it's the largest, most affordable Ideas Festival of its kind. They bring in hundreds of thought leaders from around the globe and some local to share ideas and spark action all across Chicago. To get a better idea of what to expect, here's a bit of audio from last year's Chicago Ideas Week with special guest and Chicago comedian Cameron Esposito.
Everything that I have ever tried to do has had two motivations. One is I really do believe in trying to create social change, and then the other one is I'm scared and alone too, so I would like for you to join me. You know, every job that I have, I try to make sure to hold the door open. That's like my motto for like if I get through, you're coming with me, and I believe in that wholeheartedly, and especially if I have more privilege than you, like I'm holding the door open for you even wider.
October 12th through the 17th, it's 2019 Chicago Ideas Week. Tickets go on sale to members on August 22nd and to general public September 10th. Once again, if you're an innovator or creator in the city of Chicago or even outside the city, you must join us for Chicago Ideas Week, October 12th through the 17th. For tickets and event information, head to chicagoideas.com. That's chicagoideas.com, and we hope to see you October 12th through the 17th for 2019 Chicago Ideas Week. Hey, podcast fans, that's you listening right now. The team at the Chicago Sun-Times has a new show to add to your listening lineup. This football season, get the inside scoop on the Chicago Bears with Hallis Intrigue, the latest podcast from the Chicago Sun-Times sports team. Tune in to hear Sun-Times sports reporters and Bears experts cover all things Chicago Bears in the NFL football season. Stay informed this football season. Listen to Hallis Intrigue at suntimes.com/HALAS and be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Check it out now. suntimes.com/HALAS. Isn't that right, Robert Mueller?
That's correct.
Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Before I bring on Monroe Anderson and his mystery guest, let me just do this update that I was promising. As we were talking about earlier, Bernie Sanders had an operation. Apparently had a clogged artery. He had 2 stents. So, waiting for the official announcement from the Sanders campaign, I got this email from Bernie Sanders campaign. I'm on their email list. David Sirota. You know David Sirota, don't you, D?
Yeah.
Yeah, a former journalist, now works for Bernie. He's one of his press aides, David Sirota. Anyway, this is classic Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders had some health issues, had an operation, had 2 stents added to take care of a clogged artery. Here's the headline. When you see the word stent, remember Medicare for all. Total Bernie move, Monroe Anderson. He's going to make this a political issue and an issue that he cares very dearly about. Here's what he wrote. By now, you probably heard the news. Bernie is taking time off the campaign trail following a medical procedure that inserted 2 stents. Billionaire Trump advisor Steve Schwartzman last night publicly expressed his wish that, quote, Bernie Sanders shouldn't exist, end of quote. But alas, the billionaire's wish has been denied. Bernie is conversing and in great spirits as he rests up from what medical experts note is a routine procedure. Roughly 1.8 million stent procedures happen in the United States every year. The campaign's motto is not me, us, and because we're always on message for the 99%, we are encouraging media outlets that are reporting on this issue to note that, and now it's in bold print, Monroe, bold print, that stents are a perfect example why the United States needs to join the rest of the world and pass Bernie's Medicare for All legislation. And he goes on from there. Come on, man. Come on, Monroe. I know you're for Hillary in 2016, but you got to show some love for Bernie right now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. Stubborn.
Get off my lawn.
Monroe Anderson's a stubborn guy. All right, Monroe. Now, Monroe Anderson, as everybody knows, comes in every Wednesday. In the old days, it was Monday. So in my mind, it's still Monday.
Right now, it's Monroe midweek.
Midweek.
Yes, Wednesday. Hump day.
Hump day. Whoa. Anyway, and usually Monroe comes by himself, but today Monroe Anderson has brought a mystery guest. D, how about that? Monroe Anderson.
Love when we have mystery guests.
Oh, where's the mystery guest music?
Oh, that's what you're
Right,
like.
exactly. That's what we're waiting on the mystery
Oh,
guest
okay.
music.
Hold on. Hang tight. Hang tight. Several hats.
I
here on the
really
Ben
like the
Joravsky Show.
mystery guest music.
All right. Hold on. Hang
We
tight.
can't have a mystery guest
Oh, you
without
said-
mystery guest music.
Mystery guest.
Yeah, woo! So Monroe, please tell us who your mystery guest is.
My mystery guest is my son, artist Kyle F. Anderson.
All right. That is correct, Robert Mueller. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And Kyle Anderson is a little different. Kyle, you're a little different than your dad. You're an artist. So I guess you followed your mom's path down the road, huh?
I guess it's a little bit of a blend. I do video games and stuff like that. So there's a story component, which as you know, my dad's a writer. But then there's, I'm doing all the animation on this thing.
Well, let's talk about your video game. Monroe was teasing me. Your father was teasing me because he's a lot hipper than I am. That I said, is there like a literal game that you're going to show me? And then your dad, who's like a millennial at heart, goes, "Oh, Ben, no, it's on a computer. You don't know anything." So explain your video game that you just designed.
Yeah, well, and we're still in development. We're right at the tail end here, and looking to launch a beta soon. So it will be available for anyone to come on and try it out and see what they think about it and give us feedback. So the game is called The Adventures of Chris. It's about a kid named Chris, shocker, 13 years old, overweight, nerdy kid who gets whisked away on a sort of a fantasy adventure. So it's a lot of fun. I know I worked on it, so of course I think it's a lot of fun.
Wait, so overweight kid Chris, was it the storyline your idea?
No. I'm the lead artist on the game. The way it looks is sort of my doing. The creator of the game is a guy named Chris Guin.
Hence the name Chris.
Hence the name Adventures of Chris.
Yeah. Tell me a little about Chris. Was he overweight as a kid?
Yeah. The game is the game's autobiographical and semi-autobiographical. If you could see the game, you'd see that he's fighting vampires, and stuff like that.
Fighting vampires.
So,
all right.
and
Wait. In
penguins.
real life, he had to fight vampires?
That's what he tells me.
In his mind, he was fighting vampires. So, all right, help me out a little bit. I was never a fan of video games, even when, I was remotely young.
So he says, "Help me out a little bit."
Yeah. A lot. Dennis over here is a big fan of
Now,
video
is this game a side scroller, a first person?
It's a side scroller.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's kind of 2D animation.
Oh,
it's like
cool.
a retro style game.
Right. Awesome.
Whoa,
but
wait.
it looks a little bit more looks contemporary though.
I have a question.
The reason we love Dennis is he knows all.
He's a millennial. What's a side scroller mean?
like your Mario Brothers game. That's a side scroll where it's a guy walking and you see it following along to the right.
I don't think I've ever actually seen a Mario Brothers
Oh
game.
boy, you
I
show
just-
prepped for this interview.
Let me tell you something, Kyle. This is what I've seen in video games. Like when I remember, when athletes or actors are I'm playing my video game. That's about all I've ever seen. I've never engaged with the video. So what happens in this game?
So an interesting thing about Chris is he also writes musical theater, and he's passionate about both of these things. So when you see the game, it's in a similar way. There's a story. You're following this kid. You're seeing his life, and all these things happen. Except instead of a song, you break into a level where suddenly you're punching giant mutant bats and spiders
And
stuff
vampires.
like that. And vampires and all sorts of things.
So why didn't you? I'm not second guessing in any way the video game, but if the guy struggled with bullies as a kid, why didn't you have the video game showing him being picked on by bullies so that he would be beating up kids who beat up the fat, shy kid?
There is some of that. So at the start of the game, there's a little bit of his backstory, and we see that he did struggle with that, a little bit. And this is sort of the point of the game, and this is kind of the essence of the game, is to show that no matter who you are, or what background you're from, or what struggles you have, with persistence and with perseverance, you too can become the hero of your own story.
I would love to see you do a video game about your father's struggles to have Trump impeached. It's been a 3-year struggle. A video game, Monroe Anderson fighting to have Trump impeached. Could you do a video game on that?
Well, I've got to sing you a song, and I sing worse than you two do, okay?
I don't know if that's possible.
Right. The wheels on the bus come off and off, off and
You do
off.
sing worse than I do.
Off and off.
Oh my goodness. Before we officially move on to Trump news, because everybody wants to hear your father on Trump, and more Trump, I have to ask you, when you design a video game, this is, again, speaking out of utter ignorance, so do you do it all electronically, or do you have a piece of paper and a pencil and you start it there?
I do it all electronically.
Wow,
I work in Photoshop. Different people work in different things. We have a whole process where it's done in a program called Unity, for those of you that know about sort of creating games and those types of pieces of software and stuff like that. So it's kind of a back and forth between myself and Chris with those two programs.
Is Chris from Chicago?
Chris is from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Yeah.
Home of video game making.
How did you meet Chris?
I through a friend.
Does he live in
introduced
Alabama right now?
It was yeah. He lives there right now.
We should get Chris on the does Chris have any politics?
Yes, but I wouldn't say he's particularly politically inclined.
Now he's from Alabama. I don't want to jump into any conclusions. Is he a Trump supporter?
No, not at all.
Oh, good to hear that, Chris.
Not at all.
Good to hear that.
Anyone. On this trouble, I won't get into trouble. On this show, I won't get into trouble for saying this. Anyone who has any sort of perception in life in general can just look at him for one day. Just pay attention to him for one day. And
Chris?
you can see that he's. Well, no, to Trump. To
Oh,
Donald Trump.
yeah.
And you can see that he shouldn't be president. He really shouldn't.
I agree with you 100%. In fact, Robert De Niro said the same thing this weekend. I haven't had a chance to talk to your dad about this, but I thought Robert De Niro put it so well. He was being interviewed about the new movie, The Irishman. By the way, tangent within a tangent, Kyle, I have to tell you this. A good friend of mine saw The Irishman, which is Marty Scorsese's new movie. It's a gangster movie, 3.5 hours long. And he says it's the greatest movie of all time. You got to run to see it. So I just want to throw that out to people. You heard it here first. It'll be on Netflix at the end of November, but it'll be in theaters November 1st. They're going to have like at least a month in the theaters, so definitely go to see it.
They'll be Oscar worthy. That's why.
You have to. And the game is played, and I can't stand the game, and I'm a big screen guy, so I much prefer movies on the big screen, and a movie it sounds brilliant, The Irishman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're a big movie fan.
Yeah, I live in L.A. So
Yeah, you got to. That's right. You live in L.A. You have to be a movie guy.
Yeah.
So it really irritates me that they're going to move it after a month. It can make you really rush to go see it. Your dad, who never goes to movies, you better go see this one, Monroe.
I got a 65-inch TV.
Oh,
That's big enough.
It's big enough. But anyway, so all right. So again, showing my astounding ignorance about how these things are done. I don't care. So do you ever use, I always think, I'm showing the camera, I always write, I got pen, I got paper. That's how my brain works. I'm a program that way. I'm not very good at, when I have to go to the computer, I always lose a little something there. Do you ever even use the paper, the old school?
I do. I got it with me right now.
All right, I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
So you can jot things out?
Oh yeah, I can. It's not so different for me. I mean, there's a little bit of a disconnect. I agree with you there, and you lose sort of a little bit of the organic feeling to it that you get on paper. But the digital stuff it's like magic. You can do so much with that stuff.
And so when will the game come out?
So we're looking at end of the year or perhaps early next year. And We don't have an official launch date yet, but again, we will have the beta, and we have updates on our website, which is adventuresofchris.com.
All right.
And when's the beta going to be available?
We haven't announced it yet, but like I said, we're looking at before the year is up. So it's coming very soon.
Adventures of Chris with a C or a K?
Yeah, with a C.
CHRIS.com.
.com.
And then after that, people can get the game from that website?
Yeah, well, we'll be available on Steam. So for PC and Mac, I'm sure you've never.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You're doing great, Ben. Come on.
There's a group
Power
called
through.
Steam. I think there was a group called Steam that had a song, Nah Nah Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye.
I'm checking out the website. It's really cool. You guys did a great job with this.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a millennial
Absolutely.
talking, okay?
Yeah.
You're like speaking his language, man.
So the viewers will be able to see a little of it.
No, we're not that high tech, but yeah, go check it out. Adventures of Chris.
Monroe was like, oh, yeah, just
You can see pictures. You can see pictures of the side scroll. It's really cool.
Anyway, adventuresofchris.com.
Wow, this looks great.
Yeah, Kyle Anderson, very talented guy. Monroe, we've talked about this a little bit. Monroe's wife, Joyce, is an artist. So apparently you got some of Joyce's genes there. Monroe can't sing or draw.
Well, I draw better than I sing.
Oh,
that's for
okay.
sure.
Well, that doesn't say much.
And speaking of epic stories, long epic stories,
Yeah.
we went to see Hamilton
Oh, okay.
at last.
All right.
And it is incredible. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've
yet.
not seen it. Everybody.
Oh, man, it is incredible. It is really incredible.
No, we had a teacher in the studio yesterday talking about the teacher strike, Andrea Parker, and that'll be a bonus feature. It comes out Saturday. She's a teacher on the South Side, and she was talking about how she's seen Hamilton 3 times and it inspires her. So I made a mental note. I got to see it before it leaves.
Yeah, and I want to see it again, but it's like the seats that we had, and they weren't the best seats in the house, but they were $200 each.
All right, well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, but you're a rich man. So
Yeah, I'm a
it
rich
doesn't matter
man.
to you.
I'm a very rich man. All right, I'm going to get a piece of Kyle's game, and then I'll be really rich when that thing starts. All right, Monroe, let's switch gears. Let's talk Trump. The last week you were here. I think the news had just broke about Whistleblowergate, and Nancy Pelosi was calling for an impeachment inquiry, and everything just flipped on a switch right there and then. The Democrats' whole attitude toward Donald Trump.
Right.
And so what's your sense of where we stand now 1 week in?
Trump's in trouble. I love it. I mean, he's going nuts. Let's do opinion polls.
Okay.
Last week, I think it was 20-some percent, 27, 28% wanted to see the impeachment inquiry, and 50-some percent didn't.
Wow. Wait, this is before Whistleblowergate or after Whistleblowergate?
Before.
Okay, gotcha.
Now it's 50-50.
Yeah.
Not 50%, but it's like 43 want to see it and 43 still don't want to see it. But it's changed 10 points in 7 days. And it's still growing. We haven't even had the fact witnesses come in yet. So he sees that it's going down, and he's getting frantic.
Yeah.
He's calling the whistleblower a bunch of names, as he does with stuff. He doesn't even know who the whistleblower is. They're protecting the whistleblower. And so typical Trump tactic is he's demanding that he get a chance to meet with the whistleblower because he's getting all these lies told about him, and so he needs to confront him. And the whole point of the whistleblower requirements or rules is that they're able to stay anonymous so that you can't intimidate them.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, in Trump's intimidating ways, he's called the whistleblower a spy. He says that he ought to be treated like traitors did in the old days.
Yeah.
He didn't say it, but that means you shoot him or hang him. He's gone off.
Yeah. He's accused him of treason. He's accused the whistleblower of treason.
Yes.
Which
is impossible. The last person that was officially charged with treason was during World War II, because the way the law reads is you can only commit treason if we're in a war declared by the Congress. And that was the last time we had a Congress declare war. So it doesn't matter what you do; it's not treasonous.
Well, going back to the polls, it seems like we're officially heading to sort of where we are in the general polls about Donald Trump to begin with. You like to point out that Donald Trump has very rarely drifted beyond 45% at any given point in a favorable attitude toward him, and it's usually around 40, or sometimes it's in the 30s. I mean,
right,
these
it's
things
at 37
fluctuate.
right now.
It's at 37
it's
right now.
It's gone down to 37.
So that's the hardcore Trump supporters,
right,
who've pretty much made it clear.
This is he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they still vote for him.
By the way, just on a tangent within a tangent, I talked about this last week, and it's really a staggering story that Tribune wrote, your beloved Chicago Tribune. I like to tease Monroe about the Tribune because he used to work there. But anyway, they sent a reporter, Bill Ruthart, to Michigan to interview striking UAW workers at a GM plant. They're on strike.
Yeah.
And there was a sizable number of them who were pro-Trump, which is so baffling.
Right.
To me, that striking auto workers who are essentially get up against the Trump administration's hostility to union rights.
And my guess, though, is that most of those striking union workers who are pro-Trump are white.
Most of?
Yeah, right.
Wait, most of?
That would be my guess. Sometimes I like to take a wild guess.
Since right now in America, and I've said this consistently, despite whatever freaking polls say, you could not find 2 black people in a room full of 100 black people that are for Trump. You could take 100 black people from...
It depends on where you are.
I don't care where you could be with Chris in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But there's black people in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, aren't there?
Yeah, I think the boxer Deontay Wilder is from there.
How did you know that? Dan, kid knows a lot about Tuscaloosa.
Right.
You cannot find... Okay, Tuscaloosa, I'll give you 3. You take 100 black Tuscaloogans, put them in a room, 3. You'll find 3. And by the way, they'll say they're for Trump, but I don't believe they'll actually vote for Trump. That's another thing, you know. You've known the type.
No, you got to be really crazy to be a black person and say you would vote for Trump to begin with.
Yes.
So it's nobody who's not voting for Trump or who's saying they are voting for Trump.
I don't know if that's the case, because I actually disagree with that point. My whole...
I'm talking about black people.
Black people.
Yeah.
Forget white people for the moment. Let's put them over there.
Okay, put them over there.
Over there. White people have their own issues with pollsters.
Right.
Here's what I've noted. Black people, and I've said this for a long time, I'm following this trend. When they emerge in the polling booth and they're approached by a pollster doing an exit poll, bet you that pollster's white. Just saying, Monroe, okay?
Yeah.
So a white person asks them, who'd you vote for?
And then Tuscaloosa.
I don't care where they are. There's a certain percentage of black people who will lie.
They're not going to lie and say they will vote for Trump.
Well, but that's the point.
Right.
Donnie Trump, the exit polls claim that Donnie got like 9% of the black vote.
Right.
If you take a look at actual precincts where black people live,
Yeah.
you'll see it's overwhelming. So you can't have it 2 ways. You can't say an exit poll shows 9% vote for Donald Trump, and then you look at the actual real vote in an all-black precinct and see it's like less than 2. I had Ray Lopez sitting in that chair right there, and he's the alderman of the 15th ward on the south side, which half of his ward's black, and they're like literal segregation in Chicago, like the black people live on the one side of the street, and the Hispanic people live on the...
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I know. So he knows the black precinct, and we made a bet, right? Some black people voted for him. I go, I bet it's less than 4%. It was less than 2%. Okay, I was off.
Well, see, in the spirit of Trump, they were fake pollsters.
So wait, so your theory is that any black person who's crazy enough to admit publicly that he voted for Donald Trump actually carried that through on the deed?
Yes. Because when you say that, you get the skank eye from the average black person. If you say it now, in a white crowd, you might have it. But I think we talked about this last week that Trump's African American denounced him.
Yes, he did.
Right.
Who was that guy? He was at the rally, and Trump saw him and goes, "There's my African American."
Exactly.
I forget his name, but he's running for Congress.
Right,
quote unquote,
exactly.
African,
as an independent now.
As an independent. But there was a guy who would show up at the Trump rally. We've talked
from
about.
Cleveland. The preacher from Cleveland.
Was that the guy who was black guy for Trump? Remember there was
well, that was some mentally...
I don't believe that guy voted for Trump. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he probably didn't vote at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, we went on a tangent within a tangent. But
but
going back
people
to
like to be on TV.
Yeah.
Too. So if you're a black person and you want to be on TV, then you get a Trump sign, Negroes for Trump, and hold it up there, and the cameras will find you.
Yes. Well, they'll find you anyway.
Yeah.
If you're a black guy at a Trump rally, the cameras are going to find you. As in, what are you doing there? But no, this is when I will be talking about this forever. It's one of my favorite themes and topics. How people lie to pollsters. Now, the other lie, the white people lie, is they're ashamed of having voted for Trump.
Right.
And this is actually problematic for pollsters.
Right.
Because I think more white people lie to polls than black people lie to polls.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't vote for Trump. I voted for Hillary. And
well, but mark my words, 2 years from now, you're going to have to search long and hard for somebody to say they voted for Trump. White. Because by that time, he will have been impeached. He may be in jail. He will be disgraced. And if you remember after Watergate, Nixon won that second term by 60-some, 70-some percent.
A real landslide.
Yeah, right, exactly. And after Watergate happened, when you ask people if they had voted for Nixon, no, I didn't vote for him. No.
Yeah. Well, I actually do not. I'm not sure. I think things have changed, deteriorated in our country. We're two old timers, Monroe and myself, roughly the same age, so we remember the 72 election. And I think things have deteriorated in this country, Monroe, that Trump supporters will not be like Nixon supporters. They won't be embarrassed. They'll be proud. So, like, if you get a guy striking an auto...
When the impeachment is done.
Wait, so you're saying the average white guy in Tuscaloosa, Alabama...
Yes.
Is going to be intimidated into backing, saying that he voted for Hillary Clinton?
No, he's not going to say. He's not. He's going to say he didn't vote for Trump, or he's going to remain silent about it. Mm. But no. They hate Hillary.
They hate Hillary
with such
so
a
much.
passion. Yeah.
This reminds me on a local level, and you're old enough to remember this. In 1983. Harold Washington, in those days, the mayor's race was a partisan election.
I'm old enough to have covered that.
You covered that.
Right.
And Harold Washington ran as a Democrat for mayor of the city of Chicago. And in those days, the candidates ran as Democrat by their party affiliation. Now we have a nonpartisan election where nobody runs as a party affiliation. Harold was the Democrat, and there was a Republican named Bernie Epton. And it was a very close election. Harold Washington narrowly defeated Bernie Epton. The joke was that a year later, you couldn't find anybody who would admit that he voted for Bernie Epton over Harold Washington. Which you would think it was a landslide. You follow what I'm saying? When it actually was the closest election in the history of Chicago politics.
Right. I know. No. And so that's what I'm projecting for Trump within 2 years.
Wow.
But it looks like, but at the rate things are developing, we may have Trump. We're going to have Trump impeached by Halloween, and there's a chance. This is another one of my out on the limb.
Oh, here we go. Remember 4th of July one, but okay, yeah.
But no. Okay, so they were slow. I have nothing to do with that. They were slow, but now the Republican Senate is going to vote to put Trump out.
Wow.
That's my out on the limb.
All right, I'm writing that down because I do not see that happening. Although, as I said, we had Meredith Shiner was in here, a political journalist, and she did say, there was a very fascinating interview last week. She did say, in her humble opinion, if Mitch McConnell sees that Trump is a threat to his control of the Senate, he will drop Trump in a hot minute.
It's already beginning. I think it's break time, but we could pick this
we'll
up
take
after
a
we
break
go
time.
back. Yeah.
By the way, Robert Peters has entered the studio. He's going to be our guest at 2:30, and he's one of Bernie Sanders' leading supporters in the state of Illinois. So, Monroe, I'm going to force a concession from you right now. Monroe and I have been arguing this for 4 years. He was for Hillary. I was for Bernie. Do you now agree that Bernie would have defeated Trump in the 2016 election?
Why would I do that?
I just thought Peters would have said,
Why would I do that?
And
I stand here boxing off Bernie bros. All of them, they're all jumping on me, what have you, but you're wrong.
all right.
And before we move on to, I just want to mention here, Adventures of Chris. This game's cool. I'm on the website right now. It's really neat. Check it out, everybody. Would you mind? There's songs on here too. Would you mind if I played one of the songs from the game?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll go to break, and when we do that, we'll play the
Pat
song.
Whalen will be into that game too.
But this is an awesome side scroller. The graphics look incredible. Ben knows nothing about video games, so not a great job of promoting it that well.
Right.
So
Ben has heard of Mario Brothers, right?
Oh, I had to remind him.
Oh, God.
I went to high school with a kid. There was a kid named Mario on my bowling team at one point. Big feller, okay?
You see what I got to work with every day, guys? I work with this guy every day.
Curve.
But the graphics are awesome. It's really cool. AdventuresOfChris.com. Check it out. Awesome side scroller. There's some bosses involved as well, like Weston James III, also known as Buzzkill. That's like a boss, right, at the end of the level. So
absolutely.
People listening, video games. It's really cool. Side scroller here. You got the mega bosses at the end as well. All right, let's hear some music as we go to break here. AdventuresOfChris.com. When does this video game come out again?
We're looking at end of the year or perhaps early next year. We don't have an official date yet.
Well, it looks awesome. So here it is, Adventures of Chris. This is from the soundtrack, everybody. We'll be right back.
Did you know that 40% of the people in Illinois opt to be cremated? Well, it's true. And Chicagoland Cremation Options honors their wishes by providing cremation services directly to the general public. Chicagoland Cremation Options provides an affordable, ethical, and easy cremation arrangement, whether in person or online. Save thousands and streamline the process by going directly to Chicagoland Cremation Options. It's a family-owned business operated by my good friend, Douglas Klein. Here's how you reach them. ChicagolandCremationOptions.com. One more time, ChicagolandCremationOptions.com.
Today's Ben Joravsky Show was brought to you in part by Chicago Architecture Center. Discover the breadth and majesty of Chicago's architecture on a Chicago Architecture Center bus tour. From bungalows to Bauhaus, our expert docents will share the fascinating stories behind our city's architecture. Book your tour at architecture.org/tours. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm actually on a bus tour right now. my, look at that wonderful piece of architecture. Get a special discount for Illinois residents from July 15th to August 15th. All Illinois residents get 50% off select walking tours. Visit architecture.org/IL-resident.
I've seen a whole lot of catfish, some turtles. No gators yet, though.
This is an awfully big body of water. We're looking for a needle in a haystack. And we're talking about a needle that moves constantly.
He's checked the floating traps he hand-curated.
Right now it's a combination of drumsticks, rats, and smelt.
Yum.
Well, as far as the gator goes, that's a pretty good offering. We're hoping that the wind blowing the scent across the water will catch his attention.
We're all speculating on whether he grew up in somebody's, bathtub or backyard or something.
He's enjoying the 5 feet of water. He probably was raised in 6 inches. If we could find the animal, we can capture the animal.
Well said, Gator Bob. Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show for Wednesday, October 2nd is moments away. But before we get into that, we need to thank the following unions for jumping on board and sponsoring this program. First up, it's the International Association of Machinist and Aerospace Workers, Local 126 in District 8, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. And, of course, today's program is brought to you by our dear friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. Hour number 2, let's go. It is Wednesday, October 2nd, and live from the Chicago Sun-Times Chicago Reader Studio on Racine Avenue, this is the Ben Joravsky Show. In this hour of the program, we still got Monroe Anderson in studio. We welcome back Pat Whalen, actor, comedian, and good friend of the program, and making his Ben Joravsky Show live debut, Senator Robert Peters. And now your host, his favorite video game, I'd say Frogger. Chicago Reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Never heard of Frogger. I hope it's a good game. There was a video game back in the day, Ms. Pac-Man. Is that a video game?
Yes, yes. Well, and a lovely person.
Exactly.
Pac thing, right. Pac person.
Right. There was also Pac-Man.
Mm-hmm. But weren't they the same game, basically?
Hey, excuse me. She wore a bow on her head.
Okay. Oh, see the difference.
They're very different.
By the way, Kyle Anderson is still here. Before they leave, we're going to go back to talking about his video game. The kid's a genius, apparently. Dennis has given it 2 thumbs up. He can't stop playing the game.
I don't know where he gets it from, though.
Well, his mom. The mom.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right.
Mom is really a talented artist. And Robert Peters, Pride and Joy
and
of Hyde Park.
Pat's my Facebook friend now.
That's right.
And he's already bad mouth.
I'm getting in, man.
So Pat, among the other things he does for us is keep track of Donald Trump's Twitter page. And you also came up with this bingo game. We're going to talk about this later.
Great.
This alludes to the Twitter.
That's right. So what we can do is we can go through his tweets and we can see if we can hunt and peck for these specific words.
Okay. All right. So do I throw you a word or do you?
No, I think that I'm going to read the tweets and then we're just going to cross our fingers and hope that we come across.
I see. Okay.
All the bingo pieces.
By the way, Kyle Anderson may make a game out of this.
Let's connect. Look me up on LinkedIn.
All right. Go ahead. So let's go through our Twitter feed. Is this the President of the United States?
That's right. He's actually the 45th President of the United States. And actually, there's been, as Ben mentioned, I'm following his Twitter. You can hear my paper rustling. And, it's been quite a week, as I'm sure you and Monroe were discussing before I got here. But the frequency of the tweeting is something we talked about last time. Mm-hmm. And it's increased something like 200 or 300% since he's taken office. Because there were many times, where he didn't tweet every day of the year, let alone multiple times a day before he became president. And now we're in a point where, Ben, you've been impeached. You know what it's like. It's very stressful. It just makes you want to defend yourself. This man is fighting for his life here and his reputation. So there's a lot of tweeting going on, a lot of activity on the Twitter. I would also like to point out to begin that he's changed his personal account description. I don't know how familiar the listeners are with Twitter, but you can add a personal bio, a description to your account. And he changed it this week to 45th President of the United States of America with an American flag emoji next to it.
What had it been?
Businessman? I don't know. I'm really not sure. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know. Changing?
Yeah, it's true. But this is his personal account, to be fair, because I think Obama created the POTUS account on Twitter, and this is his personal account, which of course is real Donald Trump, which is really helpful because you don't want to run into a fake Donald Trump out there.
We've talked about this in the past. I do not believe that until Donald Trump, most politicians wrote the tweets that went out under their name. So I certainly didn't believe that Barack Obama was the author of the tweets that went out.
I think he was busy running a country.
Yeah, what do you know?
Yeah,
wow, isn't that nuts?
And Rahm Emanuel didn't. Dennis used to have a funny bit. He would read the tweets of like Rahm Emanuel, or I never believed that Rahm wrote his tweets, or Governor Pritzker, et cetera, and so forth.
No, they have people to do this.
They have people to do that.
Yeah.
But Donnie Trump, he's writing.
Well, you could tell when Trump didn't actually write his tweet.
Yeah, because it says things like sorry and thank you. And
it makes sense, too. It says like real government policy. And it's without exclamation marks and dots and parentheses.
Sad.
I do not believe he's ever used the word anybody sorry in the Donald Trump tweet. Ever. But
No.
That's not a word that Donald Trump had. All right, so let's take this deep dive. You got these tweets in front of you?
A couple other bullet points. There's other things have happened outside. So we're going to play Wannabe Dictator Bingo today. Okay. Wannabe Dictator Bingo. This is a cover-all bingo game. Of course, you have the freedom is in peril space right in the middle, so you can cover that up right away. But then we have all these other squares surrounding the free space, and so we're going to go through these tweets looking for these dictatorial, indicators, let's say. But there are a couple other things that happened, Ben. I just wanted to point out, you're a fan of the labor movement.
Yes.
And I wanted to point out that, Trump fired back at the AFL-CIO chief on Labor Day, actually. On Labor Day. He's not going to do it.
But labor people love him.
Yeah, no, everyone loves him.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
He's way ahead of the break
except for the fake media.
Yeah.
Everybody
the corrupt media, too.
Now they're corrupt.
Labor people do not love him. That nutcase on the picket line for UAW apparently loves him.
I'm quoting Trump.
Oh, I see. I gotcha.
Labor people love him.
34% rule, yeah.
I bet, by the way, did he actually spell out everything in the AFL-CIO? Did he actually put the whole...
Oh, God, no.
I was going to say,
I really would
love... Is there a limit on Twitter that you can,
no, forget the limit. He just doesn't know what it stands for.
See,
this is like that clip. Remember when they asked him what his favorite Bible verse was? And he's like, I like them all. I really like... And they're like, well, okay, let's not be so specific. Are you a New Testament or Old Testament guy? And he's like, they're both great. They're both really good. Like, the guy... has not read a book, including his own, let alone know what AFL-CIO stands for.
All right, so let's go through this game.
Okay, let's play. Let's play Wannabe Dictator Bingo.
Oh, I got a bingo machine here. Here we go.
All right, crank that baby up. Okay, so Ben, do you want to read the words that are surrounding the freedom space? Freedom is in peril space in the middle.
I will go.
Just go crazy.
Spying.
Spying is good. Okay. Just list them, and then we'll go through the tweets and look for them.
Well, duh, Ben. Okay, here we go. Spying.
Okay.
Bullshit.
Oh, that's a good one.
Dennis, I'm sorry about that.
Breaking our rule, but go ahead.
Corrupt. Fraud. Coup.
Oh, I thought it was coop. Okay.
Okay. Coupe de Ville.
Yep.
Hoax.
Hoax. That's a good one.
Civil War. Golf Digest. I don't quite get the Golf Digest.
Oh, we'll get to that. That's not a word, but yes.
And the one we talked about already with Monroe, treason.
Treason. Another. That's a classic. So let's just begin. I'll just dive right in. So these are all within the last 2 days too. I love this. Like really, the frequency of the tweets has increased a great deal since impeachment stuff has started.
It's like in the 40s or 50s.
A day?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Right. Yeah. He tweeted something
Bingo.
Like Monroe wins. I think Schiff is playing his own game of bingo, and I think he might be close to covering the board. This is a cover-all game, by the way. But this was less than 2 days ago. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, tweeted, "If the Democrats are successful in removing the president from office, which they will never be, it will cause a civil war-like fracture in this nation from which our country will never heal." That's Pastor Robert Jeffress at Fox News. So that's a real tweet. That's Donald Trump quoting people. Something that's increased a lot lately. I don't know if you've noticed this, Monroe. He's quoting other people a lot now. Less quotes that are just like off the top of his head, like sad, corrupt, stuff like that, and a lot more. This person vouches for me.
Yeah, he needs to do that to show that he has support.
Is he looking for validation?
Yes, exactly. He's looking for validation. So he retweets other people.
So what do you think of the Civil War thing? Civil War over Donald Trump?
Yes,
Really?
Because they love.
Is it worth going to the mat for?
We love him so much that if the enemy, the deep state, kicks him out of office, there's going to be a civil war. We're going to rise up and want to put him back in office.
Sure.
I'll put it this way. I disagree with you about the Trump voter in Tuscaloosa, Arkansas. I believe that person will still be defiantly pro-Trump, even if Trump is removed through impeachment or defeated at the polls. But I do not believe there's anybody in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, who's willing to wage civil war if Donald Trump is removed from office.
Ben, there are people who like to go into movie theaters and shoot them up.
Well,
there will be somebody in Tuscaloosa.
It takes a village, guys.
Right.
So I think that tweet will cover one space. So that makes two spaces on our bingo card that are covered so far. So far we have Freedom is in Peril is covered and Civil War is covered. However, I would like to point out, have you seen this
Civil War has this Golf Digest
Golf Digest had an article about how Donald Trump created a fake battle, the Civil War, and put up a plaque at one of his golf courses saying it was the River of Blood, that the battle was so intense and so many people were bleeding into the river.
I missed this. How did I miss this?
That's because it happened like 4 years ago. Golf Digest.
Well, you know that back in the 80s, he used to be his own PR person.
Yeah.
Fake PR person where he called up and
That's
say,
a myth.
Mr. Trump is the greatest lover.
Yeah, no, I used to call the gossip columnist with his fake voice.
Exactly, right, exactly.
I've been known to do that. Sometimes I call Dennis in the morning. Hey, Mr. D.
This is Jen Joravsky calling.
Yeah.
So this article is from Golf Digest from 2017. Donald Trump has Civil War plaque at his golf course commemorating battle that never happened.
Oh, I do vaguely remember this.
Yes.
I just don't remember the Golf Digest. So he made up a battle that never happened in order to give greater significance to his golf course?
Yeah, I think it's just, a lot of people died here, so it must be very fancy. We had all the blood worked out at great expense. We worked it all out of the water. We had the best filtration system. This battle never happened. The River of Blood. So that was a Civil War battle. That's why I'm bringing that up.
So I'm writing it down. I technically, the treason quote, the treason quote does not go in the Civil War Golf Digest thing because that's River of Blood.
I think you got to pick one per tweet. I think that's only fair. But I have another tweet here.
Go ahead.
If you'd like to hear it.
Yes.
Okay, let me tune my ukulele here.
I'm still concerned.
I'm concerned too, lady. In addition, I want to meet not only my accuser, who presented second and third hand information, but also the person who illegally gave this information, which was largely incorrect, to, quote, whistleblower, unquote. Was this person spying on the U.S. president? Big consequences.
Was that today?
That is from 29th of September. It's a couple days ago.
The big consequences.
At
Monroe, is that a
5:53
threat?
PM.
Does that constitute a threat by the President of the United States?
It constitutes a threat. It constitutes intimidating a witness of a witness. I mean, he's been breaking so many laws they can't even keep up anymore. I mean, it's just amazing.
I mean, he's live tweeting his corruption, and I can't keep up.
Right. Well, and he confessed. That's what's so wonderful about this whistleblower situation is he said that he did it. He made the call. Giuliani said that he made the call. If you looked at the transcript, it says that he made the call to the president of the Ukraine and tried to get dirt on Biden. But and his defense has gone from, well, he didn't do it, to well, he did it, but it's no big deal.
Yeah.
To the whistleblower is an agent or a spy or something.
Yeah.
But this is what he does. He just moves it around. He just tells different lies on the same thing, but it shifts.
Well, as I said at the start of the show, I'm waiting to see Democrats in Illinois who are under investigation from the feds, whose offices are getting raided, to try some of the same stunt and see how the local Republican Party would respond. How would the Tribune's editorial board respond if Marty Sandoval reacted to the federal investigation of his practices? All allegations right now, not even allegations. How would the Republicans respond if Marty Sandoval did the same thing Donald Trump did?
You know, this is what's so maddening about this is we know that he broke this law, and the Democrats could impeach him.
Allegedly.
This afternoon, in the next hour, they could impeach him rightfully. And yet they're still saying, well, we need more evidence and more information. And they don't need, the man did this in public.
Yes.
And now with Joe Biden, a quick thing on Joe. You know, Trump has been attacking his son, Hunter
Biden,
Yeah, and attacking Biden. What Biden and son did may not have been correct, but it wasn't illegal. And the charges they're making has been debunked. And Biden has made that point. But what he should be doing,
he being Biden?
Biden. What Biden should be doing is out there campaigning every day about the Trump children and all the things they've broken.
See, Democrats don't play that game.
I know.
Democrats just don't play that game.
Right, exactly.
I'm scared.
Exactly.
I mean, and there's like propriety. Democrats always have propriety. Well, that would not be right. Democrats are always worried about the swing voter in the suburbs who supposedly would be offended by that kind of tactic. But Donald Trump doesn't seem to be worried about those swing voters.
And the Democrats' true base, which is black Americans, love that kind of stuff. They want to see you get down, put some brass knuckles on, kick some butt, open a can of whoop ass.
You know, we've had this conversation before, and I'll repeat it again. Donald Trump's playbook right now was written by O.J. Simpson's lawyers. This is Johnny Cochran's playbook.
Don't quit. You gotta quit. You must quit. Okay.
And you just attack the accuser.
Yeah.
You just bring up issues that are largely secondary to the issues of evidence in the courtroom right now. And it worked brilliantly for O.J. Simpson. And you know what? All these Trump supporters, including our Trump supporter in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, not Chris, some other guy, are like outraged. We're outraged in 1995 when Johnny Cochran did on behalf of OJ, but now when Rudy Giuliani's playing the same game, Monroe, they're loving it. You understand what I'm saying?
What you talking about, Ben? You think that OJ did it?
Oh, there we go.
He did great things for the Buffalo Bills.
Monroe didn't believe it in
we can all agree about that.
You knew he did it. Oh my God! It's that Chris Rock routine. I love to quote. He goes, "When the white people leave the room, all the black people, yeah, he did it. Of course he did it." Anyway, all right. What you got? What other tweet you have?
Well, we just knocked out spying and we knocked out civil war. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces left to break. I can't believe one of them is bullshit. I know a president would never say that, so I don't know if we're going to win this game, Ben, but let's just keep moving forward here. Okay, our next little ball coming out the machine.
He's an illegitimate president, so it's okay.
You are a part of the fake news media, Monroe. You are corrupt, you're bad. The fake whistleblower complaint is not holding up. It is mostly about the call to Ukrainian president, which, in the name of transparency, I immediately released to Congress and the public. The whistleblower knew almost nothing. Its second-hand description of the call is a fraud. That from the President of the United States on the 30th of September at 7:03 a.m.
7:03 a.m.
I love this. I love that it's a 24-hour operation.
Wait, but that's not the one where he swore.
No, it's not. No, that had fraud at the end. That had fraud.
So that's in the fraud column.
That's right. So we knock out fraud.
And by the way, it's comforting to know that Pompeo was in on the conversation, listening in on the conversation. So he knows what was said.
Yeah, our Secretary of State, Pompeo.
But of course, on the Sunday shows, when he was asked directly if he knew anything about the call, he said, "I don't know."
Yeah.
You remember this?
I do not. I was sleeping during the Sunday calls.
Yeah, no, he was asked directly. I forget which show it was. Maybe Monroe remembers, but I know it was a female journalist who was asking the questions. It might have been the same as, I think it was ABC This Week, maybe. And she said, what do you know about this call? This transcript got released, and what do you know?
Wow.
First of all, Pompeo reads everything. He used to head up the CIA. He reads everything that comes across his desk. It's all he does when he's not traveling. And when he is traveling, he probably reads too. But secondly, he literally looked this woman in the face and said, look, I don't know what you're talking about. This is conjecture. This just came out. I haven't had a chance to look at it. When the whole time he was on the call.
Right, exactly.
So what do you figure, that they were worried that the evidence was going to come out?
This is a good part.
Oh,
and
good.
we haven't discussed it.
I've been waiting.
This is the good part.
Monroe Anderson.
They were all in on it.
Yeah.
They were, literally, Barr, Pompeo, Pence. And so,
Giuliani.
And Giuliani. And so when the Dems, this is the thing is, do the Dems have a big enough gonads to impeach all of them? Because they have evidence and they could do it.
Well, don't you think you should just go after the big tuna?
No,
it's like an old gangster.
Yeah, right. I know. No. I think you should. They all were in on it. Take them all out, and you know what happens then? Drum roll, please. President Pelosi.
Yeah, that would be. I'm glad Paul Ryan's retired. That's all I gotta say.
President Monroe Anderson really is fantasizing right now. President Pelosi.
But nothing will put Trump in his straitjacket quicker than President Pelosi. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what. I vote for Nancy Pelosi in a heartbeat. All right.
That's a heartbeat.
All right. So let's get another tweet.
Okay. So we've covered fraud. We've covered civil war. We've covered spying. And now we're going to move on to the next tweet. Let's see here. I'll just pick a good one. 30th September, 7:12 a.m. So the last one was 7:09 a.m. And this is 7:12. Rep. Adam Schiff illegally made up a fake and terrible statement, pretended it to be mine as the most important part of my call to the Ukrainian president, and read it aloud to Congress and the American people. It bore no relationship to what I said on the call. Arrest for treason? Question mark?
Yeah.
It's like he's taking a poll, you know? It's like a Twitter poll. Should I arrest Adam Schiff? What do you think?
No, because he's too chicken, you know what, to just make a statement, declarative statement. So he throws a question mark behind it.
Yeah.
And therefore that gives him a little leeway.
Yeah, right. No, that is a tricky
But Schiff did screw up by doing this parody in his opening. He did a parody of what Trump should have said instead of what he said.
Why do you say that's a screw up?
Because what Trump actually said is damning enough.
You don't need a parody. You don't have to punch his stuff up.
Explain it to people. Yeah.
Valid point. We got time for one more. Let's get another one in here.
Okay. That was treason right there. And so now we have the next tweet here. Very simple. I was looking for corruption and also why Germany, France, and others in the European Union don't do more for Ukraine. Why is it always the USA that does so much and puts up so much money for Ukraine and other countries? By the way, the Bidens were corrupt.
Just
threw that in at the last second. Just wanted to get that last thought in there. But I like the beginning too. Very simple. Yeah. I was just looking for corruption and also why Germany, France, and others. It was like, what are you talking about, dude? It's 7:12. I haven't had my coffee. Relax.
And by the way, the Bidens.
And another important thing is he now has Barr running around the country to the world to these various countries, interviewing people to prove that the whole thing was in fact a hoax, the Russian thing.
Oh, did you say hoax?
Democrats, yes, exactly.
Did you say hoax?
There you go.
I have one more tweet, a couple more actually, but quote, the congratulatory phone call with the Ukrainian president was perfect unless you heard little Adam Schiff's fraudulently made up version of the call. It is just another fake news media together with their partner, the Democratic Party, hoax! Another one where he just threw it in at the last second there. So we've knocked out spying, treason, civil war, hoax, fraudulent, and corrupt. But we still have coup and bullshit. Do you think we can do it, Ben?
Yes.
All right, let's try. As I learn more and more each day, I am coming to the conclusion that what is taking place is not an impeachment. It is a coup intended to take away power from the people, their vote, their freedoms, their Second Amendment, religion, military, border wall, their God-given rights as citizen of the United States of America.
Wow.
Damn.
not a perfect person.
Well, neither is Donald Trump.
That's so deep, man. He threw all that in. All that, like, that's all that's at stake. Like, religious liberty is at stake. He breaks the law, all right? He's shaking down the president of Ukraine, and religious liberty is somehow at stake. I tell you what, man, Democrats in Illinois, hey, Marty Sandoval, you taking notes? You should try to play that game. See how the Tribune likes that game. That's unbelievable. Where's the bullshit quote?
Oh, no. First, this is the problem with this game, Ben, is that we've knocked out all these words. The free space is covered too. But we still have one square. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And a president would never tweet bullshit.
Absolutely.
Ever. So I have one more tweet for you, and it's from this morning at 10:48 a.m.
All right.
The do-nothing Democrats should be focused on building up our country, not wasting everyone's time and energy on bullshit, which is what they've been doing ever since I got overwhelmingly elected in 2016 to 23 to 306.
I tell you,
Get a better candidate this time. You'll need it.
I would like just to point out one more time, every time Donald Trump points out that he was won the Electoral College, I would like to point out that the only contest in the world where you could score less points than your opponent and still claim victory is our presidential election. The Chicago Bears are 3-1. In all three wins, they outscored their opponent. If we did football the way we do presidential politics, the Bears would be 1-3. All right, Donnie Trump, just pointing that out.
We can make that happen, Ben. Give me your vote. I'll make it happen.
Unbelievable system of government we have, but you know what? As long as the guy in Tuscaloosa, Alabama is happy, I'm happy for him, because they get more votes than we do somehow or other, the way this thing works.
Well, I'm just happy that we were able to play Wannabe Dictator Bingo, and we won, guys. We won. So congratulations, everybody.
All right, thank you very much, Pat Whalen. And before we take a break, let's bring Kyle back one more time to give the good news about the video game that he designed. Kyle? Woo! Yes.
Hey.
And the name of the game and where you can find it and all that good stuff.
Okay, so it's Adventures of Chris, adventuresofchris.com. If you're on Steam or you're familiar with Steam, because I know, Ben, you're not familiar with Steam.
Everybody's happy. I told you Steam was a group, I want to say, in the 1960s. But go ahead.
Well, if you're familiar with Steam, it's available on there for PC and Mac, or it will be available on there. And we have a beta coming out before the end of the year, we'll say. It's we're looking at end of the year, early next year.
Surely you played Pong.
Which one's that?
Pong.
What?
You know, it was where they just had probably the first computer game where they just had the dots and it went back and the pedals going back. You missed out on that.
Wait, was that the one where they fall and you have to bring the lever down to keep it from hitting the ground?
No.
It's this one.
Oh.
This is great podcasting, guys. Excellent podcasting.
Here, let me draw you a picture. Hang on.
So good.
I never played Pong. I don't like video games. I did Ms. Pac-Man for like a half a minute.
Well, I do, and I know a good video game when I see one, and it's Adventures of Chris. It's fantastic. It's the story of one night in 1995. 7 children around the world mysteriously vanish, and their only hope is a chubby, dorky 7th grader named Chris. It's a fantastic side-scrolling video game. Seriously, guys, go check it out. It's really cool. Does it have like RPG qualities to it as well?
It does.
Okay,
yeah.
I was going to say, I saw that there's some text in there as well. Yeah. So, hey, guys, it's an awesome video game. Go check it out, Adventures of Chris, adventuresofchris.com. And here's a little trailer of the game as well. We'll be right back.
Attention Chicago innovators and creators, 2019 Chicago Ideas Week is coming soon. October 12th through the 17th, this annual Ideas Festival is back, and it's the largest, most affordable Ideas Festival of its kind. They bring in hundreds of thought leaders from around the globe and some local to share ideas and spark action all across Chicago. To get a better idea of what to expect, here's a bit of audio from last year's Chicago Ideas Week with special guest and Chicago comedian Hannibal Buress.
The real reason I came home is just because I was traveling a lot anyway. I wasn't in New York that much, and I don't have a full-time job in New York. I work a lot, but I'm not in New York, so it was just like I don't need to be here anymore. And also I just wanted to work on different stuff here in Chicago. So I have this center that I'm working on the west side, Melvina Masterminds. It's going to be arts and then a tech program and after school programming for kids in the North Austin area. So just wanted to be back. There we go.
October 12th through the 17th, it's 2019 Chicago Ideas Week. Tickets go on sale to members on August 22nd and to general public September 10th. Once again, if you're an innovator or creator in the city of Chicago or even outside the city, you must join us for Chicago Ideas Week, October 12th through the 17th. For ticket and event information, head to chicagoideas.com. That's chicagoideas.com, and we hope to see you October 12th through the 17th. Commercial break over. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Monroe Anderson has left the studio. But Pat Whalen's still here, and State Senator Robert Peters, pride and joy of Hyde Park, has joined us. We're going to bring on State Senator Robert Peters in a bit. D, you got an update for us?
Absolutely, I do. Ben Joravsky, I got a feeling you're going to be playing some video games after this show, aren't you?
Yeah, man. I can't wait. I'm going to go home and play Mario.
My goodness. Note to self, video game people, maybe not have on the show to plug their game. So, wait a minute. Hold on.
As long as you're here, we got that covered. You did a very good job of helping me out there.
We have an update here on that senator whose offices were raided last week, one Martin Sandoval.
Yes, Martin Sandoval.
Yeah, not a good day to be that guy. All right, so J.B. Pritzker has weighed in, and after being away from reporters for weeks due to his broken femur, Governor Pritzker gave a press conference here, and he began the presser by calling for Senator Martin Sandoval to step down as Senate Transportation Committee Chairman, or for Senate President Cullerton to remove him.
Wow. All right. It's interesting. One more time, the different attitudes that Democrats have toward allegations against one of their own as opposed to Republicans. I'd like to point out one more time, Republicans out there, that your president, the man you voted for, is under fire. It openly admits that he was essentially trying to extort information from the Ukrainian president in exchange for aid that Congress had already voted to give Ukraine. He pretty much openly admits that was up to, but Republicans say somehow or other he's as innocent as purely driven snow. And the Chicago Tribune, the leading Republican voice in the city of Chicago, is still uncertain what happened. They said it was wrong, but they're not quite certain if it's illegal or impeachable. And now they're just sort of ignoring the whole issue. So a really interesting contrast between how Republicans respond to bad doings by their leaders and how Democrats respond. And I say this in many cases. It's just like when I think about the whole issue of men behaving poorly and badly, the Me Too generation. It's an argument and a discussion, a debate only on the Democratic side. Republicans have nominated a guy to run for Senate in Alabama who's prowling the malls looking for 15-year-olds, and he was 30. Donnie Trump went out and supported him. Roy Moore is his name, and he's running again for senator down in Alabama. Yes, he's running in the Republican primary. So it's interesting how Republicans, there's certain issues that our country struggles with, but only Democrats are accountable for them. Republicans, apparently laws don't apply to Republicans. Apparently, the President of the United States could do anything he wants. All right? But when Marty Sandoval is up to no good, allegedly, the Democrats, let's what did Pritzker say? Get rid of his committee chairmanship. Just pointing that out, D. The difference between Democrats and Republicans. Apparently, the rules apply to Democrats, but they don't apply to Republicans. All right, very good. Thank you much for that update. With me in the studio, State Senator Robert Peters. Welcome back, Robert Peters.
Thank you for having me.
And as we said earlier, this is your first appearance on the live show, which is streamed on YouTube. But I urge everybody after the show to check out the interview I did with Robert. It was about a month ago, I want to say. It was a while back.
month ago, an hour long, and it was, I appreciated it. I opened up and I did a thing that, we talked about earlier. I talked. I talked a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was very therapeutic on many levels, and you talked about your upbringing here in Chicago and your parents and your struggles in school, et cetera, and so forth.
And you don't need to worry about it today. I went to my therapist yesterday.
Okay, cool. You cleared all that out. I don't have to be the therapist today. And you were also here on behalf of Bernie Sanders the last time. You're a big supporter of Bernie, and let's want to give any update you have about the condition of Bernie Sanders.
He has the stint in place. He's getting better, and hopefully rest for the next couple of days. The way I put it, when it comes to Bernie, the energy is driven by the millions of people who support him, and I think he's going to have that energy back now with a fully healed heart. So,
well, Bernie Sanders is 78 years old, and I have a lot of fun pointing out that on his Instagram page, there's always stuff of him like playing baseball. The one that was a couple days ago, I think, Robert, where he was shooting baskets. I don't know if you saw that at some arcade. And the whole point is to counter the notion that he's old. The guy has more energy. I mean, I don't know, 30-year-olds with the energy that he has.
Let me tell you, as a 34-year-old here, I'm
on my third cup of coffee.
Yeah, I've literally had like 6 cups of coffee. I'm starting to think that maybe the coffee's the problem, but like it's not working anymore. What's going on here? So I can just tell you, I literally before I came here, I sat down. I was like, let me get the cold brew and let's just do it. And so at 78 years old, he has so much energy. He's clearly driven and moved not only by his values but by the people in this campaign. So. I'm sure he'll be out there ready to go, and he's just going to get some rest. And to be honest with you, for 4 years, he's just been going nonstop, and he's been traveling the country. As you know, he's been playing basketball. He's been playing baseball in the Field of Dreams. And I think that when we think about Bernie Sanders, this is so cheesy that I'm about to say, but the millions of cells that are in his body are the so yeah.
I had this moment here. Now, Bernie Sanders is very much still alive, so I don't want to put anything out there. But when the news thing hit my phone, I saw it, that he had the operation, I was like, I paused. I voted for Bernie in 2016. I didn't think, Robert, there was any way in a million years he could win. I'm a baby boomer, so I'm conditioned to think that anybody who is a left of center and just outspokenly and unabashedly and unafraid to take those stands can never win in this country. That's how baby boomers view the world. We've been trained to think that way. Your millennial generation's a whole lot different. And Bernie proved me wrong. I think he would have won the election against Shirley. Monroe and I will be arguing this. We'll be the senior citizen home, happy days, and we'll still be arguing this. But I do believe Bernie Sanders would have defeated Donald Trump in 2016. What do you think?
Well, to go back to what I said before, again, I don't want to relitigate 2016. I want to think about what we're going through right now. We have a president who's literally using his Twitter account in such a destructive manner, especially as we have a global right-wing movement. He's sort of willing to use his bully pulpit in a very horrible way, and I think the focus needs to be on 2020. And when we look at that, we see someone who just had an amazing quarter with $25 million, 130,000 in terms of monthly recurring donations. Over $1 million folks have donated. They haven't maxed out. We're looking at the fact that we are in a movement moment. And to go back to what you're saying, I think that pressure of the idea that you can be left or progressive and you can actually maybe win. It's something that I feel all the time in this role. I mean, people tell me all the time, there's no way you can be this progressive. There's no way you should think this way or be this way or act this way. I'm always pressured to be something different. And I think that for me and my generation, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of folks who are older who I think had watched what happened in the 80s who are like, wow, this can actually happen, give me hope that we can actually build this sort of left progressive movement that's needed. I mean, I think it's desperately needed. We're not going to go back in time. There's no going back in time. I think we need to stop thinking about going back in time. I think I talked about this before, the Cold War coalition that came up between the 1950 and 2016, that's done, that's gone. We see that. That's a reality every day in our lives. And we need to just start thinking, what does the future mean? And I think about it as a 34-year-old who thinks about the next 30 years of my life. I think about friends who have children or I want to have children. What world are we building now to leave for folks? And what is being built now to be left for me? And so I think there's no going back. There's only going forward. And literally, we have to have a vision that reimagines what it means to live in Chicago, in Illinois, in the United States, and on the globe. And that requires being really bold. I think I talk about the fact that the right had Milton Friedman was in a very destructive way. Mm-hmm. And the world that we are in right now is sort of a form of a Milton Friedman, dream, right? This is what he would want.
Milton Friedman, of course, was the University of Chicago economist, free market advocate. I'm not sure.
You just got to Hyde Parker to say something about Milton Friedman in a way that I think a lot of people, they don't talk about Milton Friedman.
Yeah, no, Milton Friedman, people may like the theory of Milton Friedman, but in practice they don't emulate him. For instance, we just gave $1.3 billion to a private developer to subsidize and underwrite his development in Lincoln Yards on the north side of Chicago. Very un-Milton Friedman-esque. I don't think Milton Friedman would want a capitalist to have his big paw out looking for a handout from the government. That would be very un-Milton Friedman.
Well, this is a larger conversation about the economy in the world, and this is didn't see this going down this path. But I think the bigger thing is that we have a system in place where the 1% gets subsidized, and then it has to be paid for by the 99%. And we continue to see that happen. And that's because the only way we can, the inefficiency of our current economic system is literally built on that foundation. And of course, that is extremely not only inefficient, but dangerous for the 99% of folks who are struggling. So we need to flip that dynamic because it's just not working. And not only that, there's a huge risk. So I'm reading this book by Grace Blakely, and I've been so busy, and she wrote a book called Stolen about financialization. But the main thing is, it's a risk that everything is stuck in the sort of financial sector, sort of space where everything is sort of financialized. We're risking an economy that is not stable either. The reason so much of my life is the way it is because of the Great Recession. And I'm not saying that necessarily in the positive. I'm saying that in the negative. And so what we're looking at is what happens when the next one comes. How bad is that? Are we prepared for that? And have we done enough since that to protect the people? I don't think so, not at all. But we need to be prepared for that. And I think the people best positioned for that is the progressive movement. When we talk about, there used to be a sort of critique that, the right had the intellectual thinking and the imagination, but that's not there anymore. That's, literally they're stuck, and many of them are stuck trying to defend someone who's on Twitter saying some ridiculously dangerous things. The imagination and the intellectual gravitas that does exists with people who are progressive, left, and are literally thinking, what does the world look like, not just today, but the next 5 to 10 to 15, 20 years. And you know what? I'm more than willing to be proud to brag about that. I mean, if we're going to have a conversation about the world as it is, we should, and the world as we want it to be, we can either have a conversation about yes, we can, or no, we can't. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to have a conversation that yes, we can have Medicare for all. Yes, we can have a Green New Deal. Yes, we can have a just transition. Yes, we can strengthen and build up labor movements. Yes, we can decarcerate our society because it's built on the backs of racist history in America. Yes, we can. If folks are there, if you're in office to say no, we can't, then who are you saying no, we can't for?
All right, I'm going to take what you just said and localize it a bit. But before I do that, I just want to say Grace Blakely will be on the show in about 2 weeks. She's a British political scientist. She'll be in Chicago promoting her book. And it's just funny you should mention her, but she will be coming on the show. Grace Baby Young, I think she's only 26 years old or 27 years old.
That's correct.
Thank you, Robert Mueller. All right. I agree with the sentiments of what you're saying. Yes, you can. And I do believe ultimately there has to be a federal component to all of this. We've been talking about this, the need for an urban agenda. However, at the moment, with the current president of the United States and the current Republican Party running the Senate, we cannot really expect much aid or assistance from Washington. Therefore, we have to look at ourselves. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at this struggle, this teacher struggle, where teachers are demanding adequate funding of classrooms so that you can lower class size, that you can hire nurses, so that you can hire social workers and counselors. They're willing to go to strike over this, even though technically they're not allowed by law, crazy law that we have here. They can strike over salary, but they can't strike over class size. Just pause to think how insane that is, Robert Peters. Something that really directly benefits the kids of Chicago. They can't go to the mat for them. I get the sense that so many progressives in the city of Chicago, they'll vent against Donald Trump, but when they see a local fight with the powerful mayor on one side, they're reluctant to get involved because it's so close to home, whereas the fight against Donald Trump is more abstract. Well, he's just that evil weirdo who's in Washington. Do you feel this? Do you agree with me in that point, or do you think I'm being unfair to progressives in Chicago?
Well, I'm not going to say anything about other people and the progressives in Chicago. What I can say is that so much of what's happened in terms of the progressive movement in the city is owed to the Chicago Teachers Union. The strike that they did was bold, it was brave, it was at a time in which nobody did strikes. And if you look at what we're seeing across the country, what we're seeing here, the sort of hashtag strike wave, that lies in the history that happened here in Chicago with the Chicago Teachers Union. I think that on top of that, when we talk about, at least for me, I think about our safety in terms of how we reimagine our safety and justice. It has to go through schools and our parks. So there's that component. The fact is we have to lift up our schools and we have to make sure our parks are the best that they can be. That for the city of Gardens, that means that the people who work at those gardens are also our flowers and they must bloom. So that's all. That's me trying to be cheesy in every politician way as possible.
I like it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hey, Pat, how you doing?
Hey, Robert, I'm good. I'm just listening.
I see that you're here. You're just nodding along to me real good.
I love it.
Great. This is fantastic. So for me, I'm going to always stand with the working people of the city, and especially because if I'm talking about the last 30 to 40 years of what's been happening and sort of the attacks that have happened to our unions and to our, working folks, especially, mostly black and brown folks, we need to flip that dynamic. And I'm always going to stand there with them because if we're going to be having a safe environment and a dignified space in Chicago, that really starts with both our children, our families, and working people. So,
and how the financing of this. So many times, I talked about this earlier in the show. There's this schism in the city of Chicago, and at the start of the show, I called it the North Side South Side schism. And the reason I did that in part was, I think I alluded this last night. We had Alderwoman Jeanette Taylor was at the Hideout, which is a North Side bar, and she was speaking very passionately about the impacts of years of budget cuts at the Board of Ed on South Side schools. Overcrowded classrooms, no wraparound services, no art, no music, and in many cases the schools are filthy. It's like they're feeling in a very real way the austerity in this city. Whereas on the north side, I don't get that same sense of desperation, and I just get the sense that they're sheltered to a certain degree. Do you think because we have this city, like this dual nature, like a tale of two cities, that makes it that much harder for progressives to come around and champion full funding for our public schools?
Well, so a couple things. I think that this is a classic example of race and class, that Chicago can sort of be that picture of of America when it comes to race and class, right? So racism and classism coming together, and if you needed to study it and look at it, Chicago is just historically and sort of currently going through that. But the other part is, I think there's a lot of folks across the city who actually don't want to see this austerity. They want to see our schools lifted up. They want to see our communities lifted up across the city. I mean, Maria Haddon, Carlos Rosa, Andre Vasquez, Matt Martin, Daniel Laspada. I can just keep going on and on.
Those are all Northsiders.
Those are Northsiders who
well taken.
are very open and to talk deeply and at the root of situations going on in Chicago. And I think there's a perception maybe changing there that needs to happen. And I think that we're heading towards what we know from the past in terms of some politics is just not really as much the same, but the struggles of the past still stay with us. And we, again, need people who have a vision for not only now, but the future. And you see that with folks who are, not necessarily on the South Side.
I do want to point out that Ward, the North Side alderman, he was at the hideout last night. He too was standing up with the teachers. So it's just that Jeanette Taylor was so forceful about it and so passionate about it. I've never really heard a politician just so unafraid to tell it like it is or how she sees it. Right?
Jeanette's a badass. So am I allowed to curse?
Yes, you are. It's a podcast. Everybody else does, including the President of the United States.
Exactly. If he can do it, you can too.
And we're gonna before we take a break, we're gonna take a break. Come back and close with a few more tweets and get Robert Peters' reaction to our President of the United States. But what are you looking forward to in the veto session? Explain to people what exactly the veto session is, and which occurs in about a week or so. Am I get that right? I've lost track of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's a couple things. The veto session, again, bills that were vetoed coming back. Any cleanup bills that might need to happen, or trailer bills, as people say. Anything that needs to sort of get done before we head into the new year. And so, in terms of veto session, I'm just sort of, let's see what comes out of it. I'm a big supporter of the Clean Energy Jobs Act, and let's see what happens there. I'm sure we have to have some talk about the casino cleanup. We need to look at things in terms of the city that we'll get to, and we'll see. But again, I'm just more focused on figuring out the stuff that needs to be done. But I got 13 bills done for me personally, so I have. Trying to push, banning electronic monitoring after you've served your time in the Department of Corrections. That's one that I'm pushing and hoping to get done. And then, of course, in next year, I'm trying to see if I can take greater risks. 13 bills as a freshman means that an increased height of expectations. So how do I meet those same expectations? And how can I not only just do the same thing, but take it just a little step further? Because I've always, the idea is my dad always told me to take risks, and that means, success and failure. So the more risks you take, the more likely you may fail, and that's okay, but take those risks, and let's see if we can get some bigger stuff done.
I can't remember were any of those 13 bills vetoed. I know you said this the last time we were in the show. I just can't remember. None were vetoed.
None were vetoed. 13 bills signed and sealed. And delivered.
Okay, a little Stevie Wonder.
Look at me, I'm so cool. You know what I mean? A real millennial. Well, watch out.
Some Stevie Wonder.
You got the coolest guy here. Oh, watch it. I dance like Elaine, and everyone laughs at me. It's awesome.
By the way, I have to say, there's one bill that Chris Welch, and we're going to bring him on. He's a state rep from the western suburbs that I'm fascinated with. And it has to do with the way college athletes are mistreated. My humble opinion, this is me speaking, Robert. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but they're supposed to be amateurs. Meanwhile, the universities are making huge amounts of money off their labor.
I hate that system. I pay college athletes, their workers, pay them. Let's go even on top of that. In other countries, we don't put this amateur thing into place. It's exploitation. It specifically targets people who look like me or are poor and white. So it's poor black, poor brown, poor white, exploited to make money. And recently, I think the University of Iowa, I saw a picture, had this amazing, beautiful locker room. And I thought to myself, wow, that's better than some pro stadiums. But they're college athletes, they're student athletes. When
don't get paid.
Who don't get paid, you risk damaging your body. You put your body on the line for entertainment. You have to wake up and do a lot of work. You have to have a lot of sort of self-control, or you risk being cut and losing you don't. I'm sure there's a bunch of other things. I'm not in the deep understanding of college athletic policy, but from what I understand, I went to school at Kansas State. The rigorous lifestyle you have to lead, and then you don't get paid for your labor. In other countries, especially in Europe, they don't have this system like this. You literally go up through the youth ranks, and you have some representation and some say over the collective needs of the working people there. So I think this is a real serious problem. And I think you shouldn't just be allowed to use people for 4 years and say, we gave you a college scholarship. This isn't, that's not charity, especially when you profit from it.
Well, Chris Welch has this bill that he proposed, and he's following up on a bill that was passed and signed in California. And it instead of directly paying college athletes, what it do is allow college athletes to endorse deals, so they could do shoe endorsements, make some money on the side. They could also hire agents. Right now, they can't even hire an agent. I mean, it's just so like it's indentured servitude. And they did that in California. And I love that. I said this yesterday. The football coach in the University of Washington was crying like a little baby because he will now not be able to recruit in California. Because what star athlete in California is going to go to Washington, you know what I'm saying, to play football?
Are you talking about Mike Leach?
Yes. How'd you know that?
Yeah, I saw that. Mike Leach at Washington State University. Mike Leach is, anybody who knows anything knows that he's a ridiculous person. He got, sort of, when he was at Texas Tech, I was at Kansas State. Mike Leach honestly, the administrations and the coaches set sort of they create the reason why you pay college athletes. I mean, the way practices go in the summer, the sort of enhancements to stadiums and facilities, the idea of this culture of like fight. Well, when football players or basketball players or whoever fight back, they're like, oh no, that's not what we mean. But don't fight like that. That's not what we meant. We meant, you
redirect that.
Yeah, this is about school pride. We're not going to just talk about school pride. You're also going to get a college degree, and unlike so many other fellow students, you won't have debt. And then there's this pitting between, like you get your free college if you play football, and look at these people who are stacked with debt. I will say, with all my beautiful and wonderful college debt, I see some solidarity with the folks who go out on the field and literally take scrutiny in front of 50,000 people. I get in front of a room of 150 people, or just to be honest with you, I'm right here on this. The amount of anxiety I have right now is through the roof.
Come on, man.
So,
it's all that coffee, man.
The anxiety is through the roof. Yeah. And then somebody who's like a quarterback, who's like a star sophomore, and they get like every newspaper article written up about them. They might do something really stupid or something like that. The amount of anxiety they have, and what do they get out of that? A very a low chance to ever make it to the NFL, possibly hurt their body, put that on the line, and then if they were successful, they're asked to come back every 5 years to do some booster event. I mean, this is I've got many opinions, but this is one I decided to randomly just go dig in on.
We love it.
We're going to bring Chris Welch on to talk about it, and I agree with you 100%. We have Pat Whalen here. We're going to take a break. We come back. We'll close down with some more Donnie Trump tweets. Be right back. Hey, everybody, what you're about to hear are the piano stylings of Jeff Manuel. Man, listen to Jeff go. Jeff Manuel has been playing piano around Chicago for years. He's played for conventions, for celebrities, played in basement bars with blues bands. He's played at prestigious social clubs, fine restaurants, and in the intimacy of private homes. Book Jeff Manuel at jeffemanuelpianist.com. Don't worry, I'll spell his name at the end of this commercial. You know what Chicago Magazine said? They said that Jeff Manuel is, quote, as comfortable with Chopin as he is with Cole Porter. He's excellent, and his performance is joyous. He offers an elegant stream of compositions and interpretations that entertains the mind, but won't hurt the ears. To hear more of Jeff Manuel's work and to book Jeff for your next event, go to jeffmanuelpianist.com. I'm going to spell it out for you, people. J-E-F-F, M as in Mary, A, N as in Nancy, UELPIANIST.com. Take it away, Jeff Manuel.
Boy, he loves that pianist, Jeff Manuel. My goodness. All right, everybody. Today's Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you in part by Green Element Resale. They're located at 6241 North Broadway, and people, they are badass. All right, just listen to this stuff. I got pictures right now I'm looking at from Green Element Resale. I'm just going to comb through these pictures and tell you what I see here as I look. Oh, wait, a diaper genie. We have a diaper genie, ladies and gentlemen. 6241 North Broadway. Better get that diaper genie now before someone else does. It's Green Element Resale. Oh, I'm looking at pillows right now. Tons of pillows. Ben, you need a pillow?
Oh, yeah. Always could use a pillow.
All right. Well, I guess we're going to Green Element Resale after the show. And buy you a video game, too. We know you love those. All right. And let's see here. We're looking. Oh, what's that?
Mario.
Yeah.
Isn't that a video game?
Yeah. For 10 trivia points, who's Mario's brother?
Billy.
Oh, okay. All right. Find him at your local arcade, guys. Ben Joravsky. Mario and Billy. Oh, boy. For 10 extra trivia points, what are their profession?
Oh, they're plumbers.
There we go. Hey.
Whoa.
Oh, he didn't even know. He just guessed. He didn't even know he was right.
I have a vision of a plunger. Okay, so
don't quit telling us about your weekend.
Did I tell you that Mario used to bowl on my team? There was
Green Element Resale, 6241 North Broadway. For more information, go to greenelementresale.com. Welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, live from the Chicago Sun-Times.
State Senator Robert Peters in the studio. The pride and joy of Hyde Park is here. Pat Whalen as well. And Pat, before we head out the door,
we have an update as well.
Update.
Yep,
Whoa,
there we go, Joravsky.
update.
Come on. All right, we have a local update here. Guys, I know we are worried. Robert Peters, I'm sure you're worried about it as well. You're in Springfield all the time. After years of darkness, the State House light has been reserved. They put the light back up at the State House.
What? Did not know it was off.
I didn't know it was off.
We figured that'd be easy. Just turn a bulb.
Yeah, so there you go.
Just turn a bulb.
You like this program you came on today, Robert?
I mean,
you learned it. You feel like you're
I
getting
just
smarter?
learned how lights work. I mean, it's actually quite fascinating. I did not know that. You just turn a bulb.
Yeah, you just.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Mayor Lightfoot's weighing in.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Okay, I see what she did there. I see what you did. And also, speaking of Mayor Lightfoot, the following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times and the one and only Fran the Woe Man Spielman. 3 years ago, then Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Ben's favorite, moved heaven and earth to nail down $1.1 billion in federal grants to modernize the CTA's Red Line before then-President Barack Obama left the White House. Emanuel convinced the city council to authorize a transit tax increment financing district. Wait, transit? That's TIF.
Whoa.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
My God. That's TIF. A TIF district to provide the local matching funds that once would have been provided by a state capital bill, and signed the ordinance on the final day for the city to demonstrate its commitment. On Wednesday, today, Mayor Lightfoot joined CTA President Dorval Carter Jr. at a groundbreaking ceremony for the largest reconstruction project in CTA history. And here's proof that Ben Joravsky wasn't at this event. Nobody said a word about Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, nobody. Who? Call that the Ken Davis Project. Ken Davis was a good friend of this show. Loved that aspect of Rahm. He used to come on the show, but you gotta give him credit, right?
Excellent Ken Davis impression.
You gotta give him credit, Ben. I'm like, man, you're too easy, Ken, on Rahm Emanuel. Anyway, all right. Good for you, Rahm. Good for you. All right, let's get some tweets in before we head out the door. Right?
Well, welcome back to the Ben Joravsky Show, everybody. So I'm Pat. I've been digging through all the Twitter spheres, all the tweet decks, and it's just been a heck of a day. First of all, a little background for you guys. Today It's 93 degrees in Washington, D.C.
That's
and
correct.
This crushes, thank you, Robert, this crushes the 1986 heat record of 89 degrees on October 2nd. So there's a new high bar for heat. And so if it wasn't hot enough for Donald Trump, 93 degrees on October 2nd. And, trending on Twitter right now, Ben, the hashtag Trump meltdown. So, it's that hot because he's melting. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Very good. He's talked a lot about the defense of the border. Obviously he said, shoot migrants in the legs. And he was told by aides, yeah, that's illegal, sir. You can't do that. He's, well, how about a moat, a moat with crocodiles and snakes? And that guy sounds like Dr. Evil. Like, what is he? This is outrageous. And he also said in a tweet defending his position, this is an article from the New York Times talking about what he told aides about border defense. And he said he never called for spikes on the border fence. And so I just would like to show you this tweet from December 21st, 2018, where Donald Trump said, "A design for our steel slat barrier, which is totally effective, while at the same time beautiful." Senator Robert Peters, what would you say is at the top of these border spikes, would you say?
I would say that this is a leading question, but spikes indeed are on the top.
So you agree?
I do.
That these look pointy and spike-like.
Yes, it's
so
disturbing.
The point is Trump was caught in a lie, Ben, caught in a lie. I don't know if you guys touched on this poll with Monroe when he was here, but 2 weeks ago, 36% were for beginning impeachment proceedings and 49% were against. Now it's 46 for and 43 against. It's 16 net points in 2 weeks.
Well, I have to ask Robert Peters this. 43% are against an inquiry. I mean, I don't believe any of those. Many of those are in your senatorial district. You're in the Hyde Park, very liberal area. But 43%, what are they waiting for?
I will say I'm just not surprised by anything anymore. So I don't really have, I mean, this is America.
Yeah, I mean, even the Tribune, all right, is saying, well, questions should be asked. I mean, they're going, well, way to go on a limb, guys. They're saying questions should be asked. So I guess they would technically be part of, wait, could you just ask the questions without an official impeachment inquiry? I'm not quite sure the Tribune is in the 46% or the 43%.
Well, like you said earlier, Ben, it's hard to see the evidence with your eyes closed.
Yes,
I think we can all agree on
that. I see nothing.
There's a lot still in relation to, you were talking about college athletes earlier, and, Governor Newsom in California has passed this great bill. And Trump had a meeting with the Finnish president in the Oval Office today. Okay. And here's a tweet from David Nakamura of the Washington Post. He says, Trump launched into a diatribe about Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom with an aside to the Finnish president in the Oval. "I'm sorry to bother you with this, Mr. President." He launches into a diatribe. I swear to God. Tweet from David Nakamura from 3 hours today. He was in the Oval with the Finnish president. He does this all the time. He did it with Zelensky the other day. This other diplomat is sitting there and he just starts talking, and the diplomat just is.
So what was he ripping Gavin Newsom about?
Oh, who knows?
Yeah. Is he mad about the
hoax, fraud, fake news? Pick.
By the way, I will give 10 trivia points to any person in this room. He mentioned the Finnish president, who could tell me the greatest basketball player ever to come out of Finland.
Yeah. Give him a minute. Give him a minute.
Is it, what's his name? Gatmir Shrimp? No.
Gavmir Shrimp.
We're talking about Detlef Shrimp.
Detlef Shrimp. No, he's from Germany.
Shrimp
I'll give you credit.
From Germany?
Yes, I'll give you credit for Europe. Anybody know? No?
I think I know.
And so?
Lori Markkinen?
Very good.
Wow. Wow. That's so bad on my part.
Nice.
At first, I thought you were going to say Lori Lightfoot. And, no, different Lori.
I bombed that real badly.
Yeah.
I just went like 90s European basketball player. It's got to be somebody from the 90s.
Slobodan Milosevic. I don't know. I don't know.
All right, one last tweet before we head out the door. What you got for me?
Well, all right, look, I have two because I sent a little clip to Dennis. But here's a tweet from Rebecca Ballhaus, from the Wall Street Journal, White House reporter from 4 hours ago. Trump in the Oval Office with the president of Finland says repeatedly of Schiff versus Pompeo, Schiff couldn't carry his blank strap. So there's been a lot of conjecture on Twitter as to what he was talking about. We think he meant jock strap, but I think it's just amazing that he'll say bullshit but he won't say jockstrap. It's just really interesting.
He
to
actually
me.
said blank. He didn't say jock.
Blank strap. It's a direct quote.
I see. Maybe he didn't know
Schiff
what
couldn't carry his blank strap. I think you know what I mean. No.
He's cleaning up his act.
Right. He can't be working blue in the Oval, right?
It's a little late for that, Daddy.
I have one more clip. Dennis has this. I sent it to him earlier. Again, we're familiar with the moat, right? Donald Trump wants a moat at the border filled with alligators and snakes, okay? This clip I'm about to play you is then President Barack Obama on May 10th, 2011, in a speech he was giving about the border in El Paso, Texas. Dennis?
We need to triple the Border Patrol. Or now they're going to say we need to quadruple the Border Patrol. Or they'll want a higher fence. Maybe they'll need a moat. Maybe they want alligators in the moat.
You can't write this stuff unless you're a Veep or a speechwriter from 2011. He called it. He called it, man.
He called it Barack Obama. God, just hearing that voice, that Dennis does a Barack Obama imitation. So every time I now hear Barack Obama, I'm really hearing Dennis's. By the way, I just want to point out that State Senator Robert Peters from Hyde Park occupies a seat once held by a certain Barack Obama. No pressure on you there, Robert.
No pressure.
Peters.
Let me tell you.
Which Barack Obama? You said a certain Barack Obama.
Oh, the only, very good point. President Barack Obama. He's pretty slick, that Pat Whalen. He should be a lawyer.
Wow. Can't turn it off.
And Pat Whalen is his name, and he'll be at Zany's this weekend.
If they'll have me, sure.
Yeah.
I'll be at the bar.
Anyway, thank you for the updates. He's our expert on all things Trump Twitter. He comes in once a month with the Trump updates. I want to thank Robert Peters, State Senator Robert Peters from Hyde Park, for coming back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And also Monroe Anderson and his son Kyle Anderson, Adventures of Chris, right, D?
AdventuresofChris.com. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
It's a video game, Ben.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about Mario Brothers, Robert?
Oh, yeah, his brother
Billy
Mario.
the plumber.
It's me, Billy.
Did I ever tell you about Ms. Pac-Man? Great video.
Oh, yeah.
And Monroe Anderson did a great job, as he always does, every Wednesday, right, D? Every Wednesday. And, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the pride and joy of Alton, Illinois, where back home, they call him White Lightning. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Hey, and remember, you can download previous Ben Joravsky shows and Benny J bonus interviews at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, chicago.suntimes.com/pages/Joravsky, chicagoreader.com, and wherever else you download podcasts. Hey, downloaders, you know we live stream this program, right? It's true. Tuesdays through Fridays, 1 until 3 p.m. Central Time at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites, the Chicago Sun-Times YouTube channel, and we now live stream on Facebook at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show. Give us a like, follow, share, review, whatever you want to do. We'll see you tomorrow.